This guy has a massive build, truly mountain-sized. A single step makes the very earth tremble beneath him. People didn't believe in earthquakes, but when young Hyun walked, it felt like the apocalypse was finally here. Everyone was completely stunned, but he is still just a kid. Weighing only a few tons, he dreams of becoming the absolute supreme leader of the martial arts world. But even a tiny mosquito landing on his neck is enough to make him stagger, lose his balance, and fall. You can hear the thunderous impact of his giant body from all the way across the entire country. Is he the one causing those earthquakes over in Japan? His body is fat and seemingly useless, yet he knows that one day someone will show up to destroy everything in Merim. That ungrateful servant who appears later is legendary. He actually manages to unify the entire region of Merim. Hyun lost his parents in the chaos that servant caused. Because of that tragedy, someone as ordinary and weak as him was eventually accepted as a disciple by SIX SECT Masters. They put him through hellish, nightmare training. The kind of training where living feels worse than death. They tried to pierce his skin while he was still awake. They tried to freeze him, then burn him with fire. All that torture actually hardened his body into iron. It was all part of his master's plan to forge a powerhouse. Then he was sent back in time to change the world's fate. But he never imagined ending up in Hyun's fat, useless body, one totally unable to practice martial arts. Now look at this. Things are getting really complicated. Back in the present, Jong-sung is treating him, while Hyun is busy plotting how to take down that ungrateful servant who triggers all the coming chaos. He remembers he needs to get the virgin ginseng before that traitor can lay a finger on it. Meanwhile, the doctor and his caregiver are arguing loudly about his health, making it impossible to think. He can barely focus until it finally clicks. The servant is planning to grab the ginseng in 6 months. He has to make a move right now. He bolts upright, telling his father he needs to go for a walk. His father immediately calls for the biggest chair they have. He orders the strongest men to come carry it. But Hyun refuses the help. He wants to do this himself. The chair bearers needed to be the absolute strongest, but he refused. He wanted to run to him. He finally walks alone, and his father instantly calls the guards for help. Seeing his son moving on his own, it actually brought tears to the old man's eyes. It makes sense, really, the boy hadn't walked solo since he was 10 years old. So for the next several days, he pushed himself, training harder than ever. He spent an entire month pacing the courtyards, trying to shed that heavy frame. But his massive body, it didn't show the slightest sign of changing. He even jumped on a scale to check, but the numbers just sat there, frozen. It was like trying to move a mountain. Not even a team of pigs could make him budge. In fact, the rope tied to the pig snapped under the strain of his weight. All the while, he's desperately racking his brain for that one servant's name. You know, the one destined to bring total chaos later on. His loyal vassal tries to talk him down, telling him to stay patient. Losing weight isn't a quick fix. It takes time, he insists. He suggests cutting back on sugar, packing in the protein, and hitting the gym. Getting the young master back in shape was going to be a long road. But Hyun, he honestly couldn't care less about the diet plan. The only thing he wants is to recall the name of that ungrateful servant. It seems Hyun's memories got a bit scrambled during his reincarnation. Still, he knows the guy will show up in Anhui province soon. He's heading there to hunt for virgin ginseng, hoping to run into him. Just picturing the moment he pins that guy down with his own invincible strength. It's enough to make him laugh out loud, completely satisfied with the fantasy. Imagine, after settling that score, he could finally live a quiet life. What a dream, right? But his vassal, he thinks the young master has lost his mind. He assumes all the intense exercise must have caused some kind of mental break. Panicking at the sudden shift, the vassal sprints off to find a doctor. He drags old John along, practically carrying him to the young master's side. This is Chun Wu Hyun, a man who crashed the exam for imperial physician at 30. He breezed through every test, proving he was the best of the best. By 50, he'd even reached enlightenment and invented his own medical techniques. For our guy, this doctor is the ultimate savior, the key to an athletic physique. He immediately asks if the man can whip up some powerful weight loss remedies. The doctor, looking surprisingly happy, tells him it's definitely possible. Hyun doesn't waste a second. He demands to know how fast they can start. That is Chun Wu Hyun, a man who at 30 entered the grueling selection exam to be the emperor's personal physician. He breezed through a series of intense, high-stakes tests to become a royal doctor, and by 50, he achieved enlightenment and crafted his own legendary medical technique. This secret was his savior. It was the key to molding him into a beautiful, athletic powerhouse. He asks if he can prep various types of weight loss remedies, and quickly. The man is ecstatic, saying it is indeed possible. Hyun asks if the training can be done. It would take 3 years to reach his goal, not 6 months. And he'd have to push himself hard. Hyun suddenly swatted a mosquito off his doctor's neck, calling him a total charlatan. The doctor didn't back down. He'd cooked up a plan. If Hyun wanted to lose weight fast, he needed a shortcut. If he couldn't walk on land, he had to walk underwater. They finally hit a nearby stream, but the men hauling him were wiped out, completely exhausted after that long trek. Hyun leaned down, slowly slipping into the cool water. He figured the buoyancy would make it easy to move, that the pressure would finally take the load off his aching joints. Then, disaster. He slipped. He plunged straight into the deep end. You'd expect that massive belly to act like a buoy and keep him afloat. But he sank like a heavy submarine. His vassals didn't even twitch, just watched, thinking he was having fun. Splashing around, they had no idea their master was basically turning into a sunken vessel. One vassal even muttered that he might have a shot at being a pro swimmer. Right until another caught on, the riverbed dropped. Way faster than they thought. He really was sinking like a rock. The first vassal stared at the ripples, confused. Until it hit him, his master was drowning. Total panic. He scrambled to save him, but let's be real. None of these ordinary guys could haul Hyun's massive weight. Back to the bank, meanwhile, young Hyun's energy was fading fast. Suddenly, vivid memories from when he was just 2 years old flooded his mind. It was brutal. He saw his mother dying just to keep him safe. Then, a girl grabbed him, dragging him to the shore, pulling him back from the brink of death. Gasping for air, he managed a faint thank you. They finally made it back home. Back there, the vassal was staring down Hyun's father's pure fury. But once the old man learned the doctor was the mastermind, his rage shifted. The vassal, having barely survived the father's grip, stammered out the truth. Hyun was heartbroken from a rejection and desperate to slim down. He told them about the underwater weight loss trick. It worked, sure, but Hyun's sister, the one who'd sent her maid to pull him from the river, stepped in, cutting the tension. She told them straight, there was absolutely no need to go that deep into the water just to drop a few pounds. Hyun wakes up in his room again, blinking in disbelief. His stunning older sister is standing right there. It's hard to wrap his head around. That beauty is actually his sister. He spent his life feeling fat and stupid, totally out of place. Seeing his sister, an exceptional beauty, still feels surreal. Her maid offers to help him up, and Hyun wonders if she can even handle it. It seems impossible for her to do it all by herself. But she lifts him up like it's nothing. Cool as you please. The next morning, they haul him off to his new weight loss training spot. He's dragged out to the middle of nowhere, just him and the staff. The servants look weirdly cheerful, which honestly feels a bit suspicious. It's strange seeing people so genuinely happy to carry a guy like him. He's heavy as a mammoth, but they don't seem to mind the weight at all. When they get there, everyone is busy building an oversized pool. This is obviously his sister's master plan for him. She wants to keep him out of that dangerous stream for good. Hyun thinks the whole setup is pretty weird at first, but the moment he sees that pool finished, he's actually thrilled. Everyone is smiling, watching him walk over to take the plunge. They're even cheering him on, like he's already accomplished something big. They put so much effort into this project, which seems kind of pointless. How is any of this supposed to be fun? He turns to his vassal. He decides to ask about his adoptive father, the family head. In the vassal's eyes, that old muscle-bound man is a legend. He talks about the patriarch like he's some kind of saint. Apparently, the patriarch was a senior disciple everyone looked up to. A total symbol of honesty and virtue. But to Hyun, his father is just a stubborn old leech. The vassal adds that whenever famine hit, the old man opened his stores. He shared food and clothes with everyone in the territory. That's the real reason the whole town respects him so much. Hyun realizes he's been a total burden on them since he was a kid. Still, being the patriarch's son means he's always had an easy ride. Just living an easy, comfortable life while others struggled. He bursts out laughing, leaving everyone around him completely confused. The next day, with that pool ready, he jumps straight in. He hits the water hard, sending massive waves crashing over the sides. Then he tells his guard to bring over a giant stone ball. He needs something heavy to tie to his leg for real training. The guard does exactly what he's told, no questions asked. Once it's chained to his ankle, the man winds up. He hurls that stone with all his might, launching Hyun into the air. The pool was supposed to be shallow, but Hyun sinks like a rock. He hits the bottom hard, right where he needs to be. He starts pushing his internal energy. This is the perfect way to train. His masters had cooked up a wild new training method. They called it the spiritual energy heart cultivation. Instead of storing power in the core, it used the heart. And forget energy veins, it pushed power straight through his blood. At last, he felt it click. The energy surged through the water. He sensed every current, every ripple, and waited for the right moment. Then, he unleashed the strongest move from the Shaolin Ultimate Fist. The mystic fist of 100 feet smashed into the deep water. He struck with so much force the pool exploded into absolute chaos. After that, he kept training underwater like a man possessed. Drawing on knowledge from his past life, he improved at insane speeds. Just 1 month in, and he had already mastered the entire technique. Now it was finally time to head back to the surface. But first, he needed to check how much weight he had lost. He called for his vassal to bring over the scale right away. If even losing this weight didn't work, how could he face his master? He had waited so long for this moment to finally prove himself. His enormous weight had dropped just a little bit this time. At the very least, the scale finally held. The rope didn't snap. He laughed in pure joy, and even his vassal had to smile. The man admitted he had doubted him before, but now his path was clear. Hyun had to grow stronger fast if he wanted to stop the coming chaos. He called for his servant, and then he ate absolutely everything in sight. He cultivated hard, refusing to let the food even fully digest. Over and over, he pushed his body to the absolute limit. 2 months passed, and he was back at the bottom of the pool. He threw a palm strike that made the entire surface churn violently. His vassal stood there, stunned, and could barely believe his own eyes. He blurted out, "How could that arrogant pig do something like that?" Just then, a voice behind him growled, "Who are you calling a pig?" It was the patriarch, and he looked absolutely furious. He clearly wanted to kill Hyun's vassal right there on the spot. But his personal guard stepped in, ordering the soldiers to take the man away. Not to punish him, just to let the exhausted man get some rest. After all the hard work he had done for the young master, he deserved it. The vassal started crying tears of genuine joy right there. Hyun's father was thrilled that his son had sent water flying with palm arts. He finally realized his son had real martial talent. Even though he had wanted him to study, he would support this training. Then his expression turned dark and serious. He called for paper and ink, ready to send an urgent message to the palace. The very next day, his father finally handed him the divine scroll. Then his face turns cold. He calls for ink. A message needs to reach the palace immediately. The next day, his father hands over the divine relic. Chun Wu Hyun stares down at the manual, face turning dead serious. This wasn't just any book. The emperor himself had handed this over. Just having it proved exactly how much influence his father held. Apparently, his father had been hounding the emperor non-stop. He kept mentioning Hyun was starting his martial arts training. So the emperor personally scouted the palace for the finest manual. What Hyun didn't realize was how hard his old man had pushed. The guy was practically spamming the emperor with letters. He wouldn't stop asking if the emperor had forgotten about them. It was all just to strong-arm the royal into saying yes. Honestly, it sounded more like a jealous lover throwing a tantrum. On top of that, his new martial arts teacher was his own brother-in-law. That guy was married to Hyun's older sister, and he loved bragging. He constantly boasted that his school was the most famous in the province. Compared to Hyun's real skill, the man was probably a total fraud. But Hyun couldn't expose his secret level just yet. So he had no choice. He knelt down to accept the guy as master. Their father was so touched he nearly started sobbing right there. He actually wondered when his son had become so respectful. In reality, Hyun just couldn't stand back up without help. Over the next few days, training under the guy felt like pure torture. Damn Chun Wu kept mocking him, even calling him a killer whale. That made Hyun absolutely furious. He finally snapped. Hyun challenged his own master, claiming he had already mastered the basics. Damn Chun Wu thought it was a joke and burst out laughing. But then Hyun mocked him right back, asking if he was scared. The master instantly accepted the fight, pride on the line. To make things fair, he sealed his own internal energy. He thought that wasn't enough, so he even tied his arms behind his back. Now watch this, the moment the match finally kicks off. Hyun unleashed his combat technique. It was fast, brutally powerful. Even with his heavy body slowing him down, he moved like a blur. His brother-in-law's face went pale. He was genuinely shocked. How was Hyun blending these fighting styles so naturally? Hyun knew his strength had limits, so he had to end it fast. In one motion, he knocked his brother-in-law straight to the dirt. The man begged for mercy, but Hyun finished it with one final blow. He knocked him cold. The fight was over just like that. Later, Hyun was hurt so badly he couldn't even scratch himself. He had to ask someone else for help just to survive the day. His strength has limits, so he has to end this fast. He drops his brother-in-law with a single, brutal strike. The guy begs, but Hyun finished him, knocking him cold. Later, the man is hurt so badly he cannot even scratch his own skin and has to ask for help. Hyun's sister keeps scratching his head, a sweet, quiet moment. She doesn't mind it one bit, knowing how well Hyun's doing. She's always known it deep down. The guy's a martial arts genius. His sister can barely contain her pride. It's a good day. Hyun heads out for a stroll through the local town. He's never seen the people this happy, truly thriving. Merchants trade, kids play, and it hits him hard. It brings back dark memories of when corpses littered these same streets. Back then, everyone lived in constant terror and crushing hunger. The chaos servant had ruined everything, stealing their peace. But look at them now. When people see Hyun, they rush over, eyes full of admiration. They can't even believe it. The young master is finally walking on his own. It's a miracle to them. They start showering him with gifts, shoving food into his hands. He just went out for a walk, but the townspeople keep feeding him. He's feeling heavier by the second with all these offerings. They're so genuine, he can't find a way to say no. It makes him even more determined to save this entire martial world. People this decent, they simply don't deserve to die. Then he catches a martial artist watching him from the shadows. The guy is stunned that a fat kid spotted him so easily. But Hyun suddenly blinks, appearing right behind him to talk. Completely startled, the man strikes out with everything he's got. That blow sends Hyun flying, crashing hard into the dirt. That attacker is clearly no amateur. He's a serious fighter. The impact knocks Hyun out cold, leaving him motionless. The attacker doesn't hesitate for a second, bolting into the distance. When Hyun wakes up, he's absolutely furious, craving blood. He wants to track down that man and end him right now. But when people nearby ask if he's okay, he brushes it off. He pretends it's nothing, even though he's clearly in pain. It just pushes him to train harder, to reach a higher tier. Back home, his father and sister are having a heated talk. His father wants a marriage to turn Hyun into a famous general. His sister thinks it's way too soon for any of that. They guess his sudden change came from the broken engagement. With Namdoong's daughter, a girl focused entirely on her own path. She never wanted a marriage, just to master her own martial arts. Yet Hyun's father is stubborn, planning to ask for her hand again. Right now, men from the Namdoong family are already nearby. They're trying to figure out how to reject him without being rude. Meanwhile, Hyun heads straight into the slums, the beggars' district. He's got one goal in mind, and he needs answers fast. It's time to hunt down that legendary virgin ginseng. He searched for a long time, but found nothing. Someone told him. It had been over 20 years since the beggars vanished from this area. Ever since the patriarch built homes for them, Hyun also wanted info on the state treasure, but had no idea where the beggars had gone. At the same time, the Namdoong lord sat in the provincial office, digging deep into Hyun's personal records. Because of that marriage proposal, a beggar explained that Hyun was a special adopted son, so no business involving him could proceed without direct permission from the central beggar office. They'd marked Hyun as celestial rank because he was the patriarch's son. Since the other side was rich and powerful, Namdoong immediately threw down a massive pile of coins, offering to pay anything. Still not enough, they couldn't break the beggar network's strict rules. Then he pulled out a ring, the emperor's royal seal. Anyone holding it earned the Namdoong family's protection. That ring was worth more than money could ever measure. Right then, Hyun finally reached the beggar's headquarters. But honestly, the place looked way too fancy to belong to beggars. One guard even called him fat and told him to get lost, claiming an important guest was currently inside. Hyun ignored him, trying to walk in, claiming he was the patriarch's own son. The guard answered by punching him straight in the face. Now watch this. After that insult, Hyun gets truly mad. He prepares to pay him back, loading up a punch of his own. After Namdoong handed over the ring, the beggar finally gave him the secret file on Hyun. He was about to read it when a fight broke out outside. Hyun was brawling with that same guard. The man had to admit he'd seriously underestimated the fat guy. How could someone that heavy move that fast? Hyun claimed he was using the infinite sky sword, but with the guard's lower level skill, it didn't even matter. Hyun said all he wanted was a simple apology to let it go. Instead, the man got even angrier after Hyun insulted the Namdoong clan. You can feel the tension peaking right here. The moment the guard drew his sword to threaten him, Hyun dropped him in one clean move. All that followed was the man's pathetic scream. Even then, Hyun yanked him back up, ready to teach him some actual manners. As for the Namdoong clan, the guard draws his sword to threaten him, but Hyun drops him in one move. All that follows is a pathetic, echoing scream. Hyun yanks him up, ready to teach him some manners. Then he starts landing slap after slap on the guard, until a voice booms from above, "Stop right there." A man drops down, planting himself between them. Hyun steps back, but this newcomer isn't about to let him go. Hyun instantly senses a brutal martial art at play. He knows he has to shut this guy down fast. With his heavy frame, a direct clash is way too risky. That brutal style channels massive explosive power through rotation. Hyun plans to use a reverse rotation to cancel it out. He's locked in, but then reality hits him like a train. He realizes the man standing before him is someone else. His old master, the sword master from his past life. Hyun knows those lethal movements by heart. Even so, he still gets absolutely beaten down. The master realizes this fat boy isn't just some random kid. Not when Hyun manages to disperse the entire force of the explosive lightning mystic fist. As Hyun tries to stand, his eyes burn with pure killing intent. The master notices, moving in, but then Hyun's own subordinates rush in to shield him. Soon after, Hyun passes out. Only then does the beggar division chief emerge, finally realizing the truth. The fat boy on the ground is the patriarch's adopted son. He rushes over, screaming, "Who dares harm the chief's son like this?" At once, the mood shifts. Everyone turns hateful eyes toward young Nam-gun. Nam-gun suddenly looks helpless, eyes darting around. He looks at his father, and in that moment, he understands. Everything is falling apart. He tears up the file on Hyun. It's useless now. He knows he'll have to face his father's absolute rage. If he weren't Hyun's future son-in-law, he'd be dead. The beggar division chief drops straight to his knees. He's apologizing, but the whole mess is spiraling. Then the beggar turns and tells Nam-gun to kneel too. He needs to apologize right now. The man before them is respected even by the emperor himself. Hearing that name, Nam-gun immediately panics. He hits the floor, begging for mercy, but Hyun's father is still furious. He's promising that whoever hurt his son is going to pay with their life. Suddenly, Hyun walks out the door looking a bit bizarre. Apparently, his sister forced that ridiculous hairstyle on him. She really thought it would make him look handsome. The beggar division chief is stunned to see Hyun walking fine. After taking the hit from Nam-gun's son, Hyun marched straight forward. He headed right for the Nam-gun family leader. He greeted him, then dropped the bomb on Nam-gun's son, told him he was his uncle. The kid is only 17, but he owns that title now. Hyun has been waiting for this moment for a long, long time. See, this guy used to be his master in a past life, so he slapped him again, just for old time's sake. It really hurt, but Hyun couldn't care less. In the future, this man is destined to become the mighty Sword King, one of the 6 saints of the main sect. Hyun finally got some petty revenge by pinching his cheek. He made the guy call him uncle, even though it clearly burned. Honestly, he was genuinely happy to see his old teacher again. He got so emotional he even teared up. Part of that joy was finally getting some payback for the bullying. After that, they all sat down for a real talk. Nam-gun still had no idea how to back out of the marriage contract. But Hyun just calmly refused the whole thing himself. He claimed he was way too busy training to save the world. So, obviously, this wasn't the right time for a wedding. He pointed out that the engagement was just forced by some old promise. Neither side had actually agreed to it back then. As far as he was concerned, marriage could wait. Hearing that, his father was completely stunned. June started talking about a martial world filled with bandits, thieves, and mercenaries. It was pure evil. He was clearly taking shots at Nam-gun and the beggar group. They could only stay dead silent after that. No one dared to argue with him, so Hyun stood up. He declared the marriage issue dead since both sides finally agreed. Then he called for the beggar chief. They needed a little talk. He still needed info about that virgin ginseng. He had to learn the current state of Merim and the old master's link to his bloodline. Now watch this. He's about to settle some major scores. He wanted cold, hard payback for everything they had done. His plan was to make them suffer the exact same pain he endured. He survived his last life for this very moment. It was going to cost them everything they had. A truly cruel look filled his eyes. He realized it was finally time to take in a disciple. Back at the pool, his vassal told him to go to his room and rest. Hyun barely cared about that advice. That is, until his sister arrived with her maid in tow. She told him the exact same thing: he really needed to rest. His guard then noticed the wooden-faced woman standing beside her. He looked at her and instantly fell for her. She looked like a complete dream, and she knew it. He was set on entering the Miram world, but his sister stopped him. She asked if he had already forgotten what happened to their mother. She died because of unfinished business in that dangerous place. Hyun just looked at her. Did she really think he was still that weak? Still that unreliable boy who couldn't protect his own kin? That caught her off guard. He promised nothing like that would happen again. Not while he was still breathing. Never again to their clan. Hearing his firm resolve, his sister finally let go of that heavy shadow. She smiled, genuinely happy to see he was no longer a little child. She reached out, gently rubbing our chubby young master's head. She laughed, saying he had really grown a lot, mostly sideways. Why was his sweet sister acting so incredibly nice to him? It all felt strange, a little surreal. Maybe this was just what family was supposed to feel like. A lot of time passed after that, then the pool water began to churn. Someone burst out from the center with explosive force. That person declared the time had finally come for the next step. The vassal rushed over, frantically warning his master to be careful. Was he finally about to transform into something greater? Our hero shifted, but instead of power, he just turned into a saggy, skinny man. Look at him now, oh no, that is really not what we expected. Winter arrived, and we returned to his father's palace. The old man warned him not to go out looking that thin. He joked that the wind might just carry his son away. Still, Hyun was leaving anyway to train Namgong's son. He stood up, said he would visit his uncle in Anhui, and started packing. He was glad to finally have some freedom. He hoped to slip away unnoticed, far from his father's gaze. What he didn't know was that a huge carriage was already waiting. More than 20 guards stood outside, looking way too prepared. Everyone looked ready to depart, but to him, they were just dead weight. Now watch this, he comes up with a perfect plan. He called every single guard in for drinks. He announced that they would hold off and leave tomorrow instead. His sister had planned to say a proper goodbye. But when she heard her brother's voice mixed with those drunken men, she paused. She decided to just wait outside and let him be. Meanwhile, the guards were being drugged by Hyun. Not with alcohol, but with something far more effective. It was a mixture that scattered their internal energy completely. They wouldn't be moving an inch until the morning sun hit. It was a paralysis poison his doctor had given him for emergencies. He was just about to slip out when his sister walked over. She hugged him tight, whispering her final words for the road. Stay safe, don't push too hard, and come home anytime. If he ever got tired or scared, she and their father would always be waiting. Then he took the emperor's finest horse from the stables and began his journey. The next day he reached a small village, but the locals looked at him like he was some kind of criminal, or at best, a common thief. So he posed as an officer from the Yu clan, claiming he was searching for something on behalf of his master's son. He asked if anyone had seen a red, glowing stone on the mountain. The villagers looked confused until an old man spoke up. He'd seen that light at sunset while walking the mountain trail. It looked like a red beam reflecting in the evening. Son, Hyun quickly asked where. The place was called Pagoda Mountain, but the old man warned him not to go. It belonged to the Nine Dragons clan, and they were no normal bandits. They were savage, which only convinced Hyun he was in the right place. He asked the old man to guide him there. The man was scared at first, but after Hyun pleaded with that near-teary face of his, he gave in. The two headed into the forest. Once they got close, Hyun refused to risk the old man's life. He only asked for directions, and the man pointed the way. Hyun promised he'd be rewarded. At sunset, the red light appeared. It was The virgin ginseng, Hyun moved at full speed, crossing the stream, thinking that if he got discovered, fighting underwater would give him the edge. At last, he reached the Nine Dragons' stronghold. He wanted to avoid a direct fight, so he spread out his spiritual energy to search for the virgin ginseng. Instead, he found a bandit beating a woman when her child started crying. The bandit turned toward the girl. For a second, Hyun hesitated, but then he stepped in an instant. The bandit dropped dead on the ground. Hyun hadn't meant to interfere, but once he saw the mother and child, he decided to see it through. More guards came out from a nearby hut, and our heroic lead quietly put them all to sleep. After dragging them into a cabin, he found several other villagers locked inside. There was no way he could leave them behind, but the problem was they were terrified and uncontrollable, so he put the child's mother in charge. He laid out a plan fast when a guard stumbled into the cabin. Looking for his missing men, he saw them all fast asleep. He instantly figured the prisoners had pulled off something dangerous. He opened his mouth to shout, but the saggy man chopped him in the neck. Down he went, sleeping with the others. Now the plan could finally begin. The first target, the main guard post. The saggy man crossed the yard in the blink of an eye. Beneath the tower, he moved with purpose. A torch in one hand, his other hand gathered raw power. Pouring spiritual energy into his palm, he slammed the post with everything he had. The whole tower toppled, sending the man on watch crashing down. Nobody saw that coming. Then they remembered. That was the signal. Everyone had to evacuate and run at the same time. A figure shot past at crazy speed. It was the loose-skinned man. He rushed to ignite one of the cabins. Tonight, he meant to turn this place into absolute chaos. Nearby, several bandits woke up to a harsh, flickering glow. Multiple cabins were already burning. Hyun appeared in their doorway, boldly announcing he was the one setting the fires. The loose-skinned man burned that cabin too, then kept sprinting. He lit more buildings, expertly avoiding any drawn-out fights. Before long, a group of bandits spotted him. His best move was to run, but another man cut him off. Hyun slipped past the attack and knocked the man out cold. Watch this. The loose-skinned man just couldn't be stopped. Like lightning, he cut through the village. 2 guards were posted at the gate. A small tossed stone drew their attention. One bent down to grab it, then saw a bright flash behind him. Only then did the idiot realize the place he was guarding was on fire. Both guards ran off in a panic to help. Everyone hiding near the gate used that chance to break for it. The child's mother could only pray the warrior who saved them would survive. She ran with all her strength toward freedom. Our loose-skinned lord kept sprinting through the camp. He was doing everything he could to pull all the attention onto himself. Everyone hiding by the gate uses the chaos as their chance to escape. The girl's mother can only pray the warrior who saved them survives. She runs with every ounce of strength toward freedom. Our loose-skinned lord keeps sprinting through the camp, desperate to pull all the attention onto himself. But his energy started to fade fast. That's when he noticed someone beside him, blade already drawn. The attacker was a blur. Hyun had 0 time to react. The strike landed hard, smashing into the loose-skinned man. He went flying through the air, crashing several meters back. The rock boss demanded to know who the intruder was, but the loose-skinned lord just stayed dead silent. More enemies swarmed in, even mocking his bandages, asking if he was just hiding an ugly, scarred face. Guards poured in from every side. That last hit was brutal. The rock ordered his men to kill the fire. He wanted to recruit this guy instead of finishing him. Hyun sat down. He was buying time to recover. Staying seated, he fought to restore his spiritual energy. Taking those short, sharp breaths, he held his ground. Finding strong fighters willing to become bandits isn't easy. The leader kept talking, but he started getting suspicious. Why was this guy acting so strange? Was he really just meditating in the middle of a fight? Soon enough, Hyun hit his peak. his aura turned terrifying. He looked at the leader and asked why a wolf would serve a puppy. That stung. The leader instantly ordered his men to attack. They rushed in all at once, desperate to crush him alive. After one heavy blow, his mask finally ripped off. The men gasped. They finally saw his face under those bandages. The fight turned into a chaotic blur. Hyun was incredibly fast, even with his injuries. These bandits weren't elite, but they had numbers. They worked as a pack, perfectly combining their attacks. Eventually, they forced the loose-skinned lord down to the dirt. Even a lion falls when too many hyenas swarm it. Realizing he was trapped, Hyun shifted his entire style. His body grew light, movements becoming wild and erratic. He tapped into the immortal step of the 8 drunks. He slipped through the wall of guards with unbelievable ease. Even the leader looked shocked by those impossible movements. Then, Hyun pushed it further. He unleashed the shadowless flight technique. He shot toward the leader like a bolt of lightning. They traded heavy blows in a split second. But Hyun knew deep down it wasn't enough. The leader wouldn't die from that. His power was nearly spent. His only escape, a desperate leap off the cliff edge. Falling into the void, he admitted he wasn't strong enough yet. Not to beat them all, but Hyun swore he would return. He comes back, lops off all their heads, and vanishes. Right over the edge, middle finger high in the air. That guy on the rock, he is absolutely losing his mind with rage. Beneath his eye patch, his cold gaze sharpens as he barks an order. Get the body of that loose-skinned lord back up from the ravine. But before they can move, one of his men scrambles over, panicked. The hostages are gone, every last one of them. That makes the bald leader even more unhinged. Now he wants that lord dead more than ever. Meanwhile, as Hyun falls, he's diving headfirst into the abyss. He has only one goal now. Hit the water as softly as he possibly can. Spinning like a drill, his real fear is the impact waiting for him. Smashing into the riverbed with all the momentum from that drop. He manages to slow his descent, but then something takes hold. A massive pull drags him deeper, and once again, he sinks. Like a stone, the current catches him, tossing him around. The water churns, pulling him along for what feels like hours. Finally, he gets swept into the darkness of an underwater cave. Once he breaks the surface, all he wants is to just rest. That fight was brutal, but the energy in his heart starts acting up. It pulses, reacting to something hidden close by. It practically urges him forward, and soon he realizes what's ahead. The virgin ginseng. Hyun swims deeper into the cavern, heart pounding. He's stunned by what he finds glowing in the dark. Right in front of him sits the legendary virgin ginseng. It's radiating this intense, pure aura that fills the whole cave. He is so happy he could cry. Then he remembers the beggar. That old guy said it would be easy to find, easy. If he ever sees that beggar again, he might just burn him for that lie. Not wasting a second, he lunges forward and yanks it out. Bare hands, rough pull. This is really it. The legendary virgin ginseng is finally in his grasp. He even glances around, waiting for the punchline. Maybe this is some kind of sick prank, but no, it's real. Still soaked and shivering, he hungrily devours the herb. Immediately, his spiritual energy begins to roar to life. It feels incredible, and he keeps eating without stopping. He sits down to cultivate, adrenaline still surging through his veins. He is thrilled. He can finally rise above everyone who looked down on him. Back at the village, Hyun's vassal is desperately trying to track him. But because Hyun used a fake name, there's no trail left to follow. He's running into a dead end at every turn. The real trouble started back at the patriarch's mansion. Well, he was fast asleep, the father of that angry fat man. Just barged in through the front doors, ready for war. The door flies open. The man sees his vassal sleeping on the job. He starts wailing on him, telling him he will make him sleep forever. That brutal threat is exactly why the terrified vassal ended up here. Now he is roaming the village, searching desperately for Hyun. After a while, he spots the fat man's horse standing there. He panics and begs a local boy to tell him where the owner went. Once he hears Hyun headed straight for Pagoda Mountain, the notorious bandit stronghold, he just starts sobbing even harder. Just imagining his master getting beaten by those criminals kills him. He takes off in a blind panic. Meanwhile, out in the freezing woods, the rain is pouring down on the survivors as they scramble. The villagers who made it out are hurrying toward safety. Someone waits hidden nearby. It is that guy who led Hyun here. Now he is showing them the way out of this nightmare. The woman thanks him over and over for helping them escape. An old man chimes in, asking if she has seen a young man. One wrapped in bandages. He clearly means her mysterious savior. She knows the truth. He stayed behind to face them alone. Those mountain bandits are waiting right there by the waterfall. The gang is absolutely furious because they still cannot find the target. Then one of the thugs points at the massive falls. A man calmly walks out of the rushing water. He says he almost drowned, but it is clear he is fine. The bandits stare, confused, trying to figure out how he survived that. But the man just shrugs, telling them they actually saved him. A lot of trouble since he was about to come find them anyway. None of these idiots realize who this guy actually is. He brushes his hair aside, asking if they were looking for him. They just stand there, blankly staring at his face. Hyun's appearance has changed so much that they do not recognize him. You can barely call him the loose-skinned man anymore. Cold and calm, Hyun tells them to hand over their clothes. When they refuse to budge, he acts fast. He drives a kick straight into one man's head. The impact drops him in one shot. And get this, he did not even use mana to do it. The rest freeze, shaking. Meanwhile, Hyun is just complaining that his new clothes are already getting dirty, so he definitely needs more. He says it while staring down the men who know. They are about to lose everything they have got. Seconds later, they are left standing in their underwear, trembling. Hyun grips his new weapon, deciding he needs to test it out. The shivering bandits do not even notice what is coming. In a single, blurred instant, one head comes off clean. Hyun lets out a laugh and asks if they are really finished. Just standing there waiting for the end. Seriously. They start begging, but Hyun isn't hearing any of it. He already gave his word. He's taking all their heads. They bolt in terror, but it's way too late for that. The hunt is on. By the time it's over, everyone under that mountain is gone. Not a single one escapes. Afterwards, Hyun notices his clothes covered in filth again, so he heads to the river to scrub up. He catches his own reflection in the water and freezes. That loose-skinned man is ancient history. He looks absolutely ... otherworldly. He's incredibly handsome now. It hits him it was that virgin ginseng all along. He's feeling a mix of joy and pure embarrassment at his new look. Honestly, he's starting to look just as beautiful as his sister. But then sudden screams snap him out of it. They're coming from way up at the peak. The old guide is being tortured by a group of bandits. The survivors got snatched up again, and the guide's holding out. He won't spill a word about that loose-skinned man. They're about to whip him again, but one bandit stops. He's squinting, asking why some guy is just chilling in the snow, watching them. Hyun crouches down, making this weird, subtle motion. The bandits are confused, wondering if he's really just scooping up snow with his bare hands. Maybe he wants to play, but that snowball hits like a bomb. Half the group drops instantly, taken out by nothing but snow. Anyone still trying to fight back gets cut down in a blur. The remaining bandits can barely track him as he rushes up. Then he tears through the rest on his way back down. Whoever somehow survives that first rush gets finished off by the Moon Destroyer's strike. Only one man left standing. Hyun asks him if he's scared. But honestly, none of these guys even know who he is anymore. The old guide coughs, clearly in agony, remembering the kindness that men showed him on the trail. Hyun's blood starts to boil. Pure, unadulterated rage. He asks if this survivor is the one who did it. The man panics and lies through his teeth. Hyun doesn't waste time, one spear swing, and the guy is split in half. The other survivors are on their knees, begging for mercy. But he didn't come for them. He came to save his friend. The guide finally realizes exactly who is standing right in front of him. Hyun tells them to get back to the village. Seeing the poor guy can barely breathe, Hyun starts channeling his own spiritual energy. He forces energy into his body, burning that nasty wound shut. It's rough, painful treatment, but it's all he can do. He scans the group, desperate. Can someone carry him? The guide orders them to reach the village fast. No looking back. They obey instantly, while Hyun swears one thing. He'll bring heaven's own punishment down on those mountain bandits. Back at the gate of the bandit village, the guards are confused. Why is thunder rumbling on such a clear winter day? A second later, the answer arrives. One guard gets beheaded so fast he doesn't even realize he's dead. The other dies in that same single strike. Hyun draws a deep breath and roars, "Come at and fight." He plans to show zero mercy to these beasts. Anything in his way gets cut down. Watch this. He tears through the bandits like they're nothing, dropping several of them at once with chilling ease. Today, Hyun means to erase this whole clan from the map. Anyone watching can only shake in pure, unadulterated fear. They know deep down they're next. Then an arrow whistles by, nearly hitting Hyun. The bald leaders group has finally arrived. This is exactly what Hyun wanted. Now he has to fight with even more skill than before. The timing is perfect. A familiar voice rings out, the wild vassal has arrived. He's brought men to crush the bandit camp for good. The guards charge, and the vassal fights well too. He can really handle himself out there. The bald leader screams for his men to stand and fight, but the coward himself chooses to run. Hyun has no intention of letting that worm escape. The bald man can't believe his pursuer is still on his tail. He still doesn't recognize Hyun's new face. Then he sees that raised middle finger and suddenly remembers everything. His fear shifts into pure, paralyzing horror. How could someone become this strong in just one night? Now he understands Hyun's overwhelming power. He drops to his knees, sobbing and begging for mercy. He offers women, food, even gold. But Hyun asks if the bandits gave mercy to anyone else today. He's punishing him in heaven's name. Then, Hyun does exactly what he came here to do. Just then, the vassal arrives, asking if he's all right. He doesn't realize the man in front of him is his young master. Instead, he asks for a name. Hyun starts rambling, calling the whole family foolish and the young master rude. He compares him to his father, ugly, bad-tempered, the works. Says he used to eat like an ox, just shoving food down. Hyun briefly considers killing his own vassal right there in the dirt. But once the man finally realizes this is his true young master, his tune changes in a heartbeat. Suddenly, Hyun is incredibly handsome and they need to move fast. They have to get back before the patriarch tears him apart. But Hyun still has unfinished business with that chaos servant. The vassal just pulls out the divine whip he used as an inspector. Hyun had no intention of going along with this circus. He tries to bolt, but the butler catches him with the whip. He gets dragged back, struggling the whole time. On the way, Hyun swings at the vassal, who blocks it easily. Everyone is stunned after just a few months. The young master has become strong enough to pressure a former inspector. One blow against the guard shoves the man back several steps. But then, Hyun gets caught completely off guard by an attack from behind. The vassals have their orders from the patriarch, and they're following them. The fight is hitting its peak, and everyone is dead serious. Right then, the old man shows up out of nowhere. He thanks Hyun for saving them, saying the prisoners escaped safely. They are deeply grateful for everything Hyun did. While Hyun is distracted saying goodbye, the vassal quietly ties him up. He hauls him away while Hyun yells at him the whole time. Finally, the vassal knocks him out just to carry him more easily. He tells everyone to stay quiet about what Hyun actually did. Since Hyun used a fake name, they should leave it that way. A nail that sticks out gets hammered down every single time. Too much attention would only bring more trouble for the kid. Sometime later, back in the cave, the ginseng virgin is long gone. The chaos servant comes searching and gets absolutely furious. He is so enraged by the theft he nearly kills his own men. He orders them to find the thief and wipe out their entire family. Now watch this, finders keepers, losers reapers, and he is losing it. When Hyun finally wakes up, he realizes the window is closed. He missed his best chance to track the chaos servant in the cave. Still, the path forward is never quite as simple as it seems. He is so furious over the theft he nearly kills his own men. He orders them to find the thief at once and wipe out that person's entire family. The item is gone and he is losing his mind. Finders keepers. When Hyun finally wakes up, he realizes he missed his chance to track the chaos servant deep in the ginseng cave. Still, the Millennium Snail summons a second creature to the scene. He gets another chance to prove himself soon after they arrive. Hefei City is massive, bustling with life and constant energy. The trade here is worlds apart from his small hometown. They even have dedicated districts built just for visitors. Huang steps out of the carriage, straight to the Emperor's Gate. The guards immediately block his path, spears leveled and ready. But then, a sharp command echoes out, "Lower your weapons." It is his father, waiting in the shadows all along. Seeing the old man's face full of worrying, Hyun tries to reach out. But the gesture goes completely ignored by his own kin. Because his father, he doesn't even recognize him. Instead, the old man starts thrashing the vassal for lying. That letter promised Hyun would be right there beside him. Only after taking a few blows does the servant finally shout, "The handsome guy standing right there, that is your son." His father spares Hyun one quick glance, then turns back. He goes right back to beating the vassal, totally unfazed. There is no way that good-looking young man is his boy. Finally, Hyun calls out, "Father, it is really me." The old man freezes instantly, stunned by the sound of his voice. He asks if it is truly his son, eyes wide with disbelief. He just cannot trust what he is seeing right now. News of this reunion spreads like fire to Namgying Castle. The squadron captain reports that the public has been misled. They were told the vassal solved the mess alone. But the truth is, Hyun wiped out that entire clan by himself. Old Namgying is impressed, though he remains deeply skeptical. He asks the captain if he might have seen it wrong. The captain insists that bringing Hyun back took everyone. They had to work together just to hold the boy down. The family patriarch steps in. His son is just being stubborn. Hyun is the future heir of a great clan, born with raw martial talent, and now he is finally in shape. He has slimmed down into a truly handsome young man. You know how it is. His father is ignoring the truth, trusting gossip instead of his own flesh and blood. That is exactly why he doubts everything he is hearing. The patriarch then makes it clear he is taking control. He will personally handle all of Hyun's marriage plans from now on. Soon after, the leaders meet with Sinian at the center. Since he is the one being discussed, the tension spikes. Hyun's father speaks up. The boy should take the martial path. Since he is the one being discussed, Hyun's father insists the boy should take up martial. The arts exam was underway when Patriarch Namgying stepped in, cutting the talk short. He claimed that path wouldn't cut it, no matter how gifted Hyun was. That route would just make him a general. Hyun's father looked confused. He asked what the old man had in mind instead. Namgying didn't hesitate. He said that under the right master, a kid like Hyun could rise far above being just a general. He could become a leader who saves the entire nation and leaves his name in history. Those words about saving the country, they lit a real fire in Hyun. His father was stunned and asked if a master that great actually existed. Namgying laughed, saying they wouldn't even need to search for one. He planned to take the boy on and teach him personally. This was the retired patriarch of the Namgying clan himself. The king's sword, Namgying Jingshen. Hyun quickly put the pieces together. He realized the old man only wanted him because of his recent achievements. He also knew this clan was pretty materialistic, even if they were powerful. Still, Hyun saw this as a massive chance to grow stronger. It was his way out, a chance to spend time away from the Yu clan. That was, of course, if his father actually agreed to the deal. A moment later, his father was already sniffling, emotional at the thought of Hyun becoming Namgying's student. It was quite the scene. But the Namgying elder had clearly already worked his way into his head. Things settled down fast after that. Hyun's father was visibly relieved. He felt better knowing Namgying would look after his son personally, especially since he had to leave for the emperor's side. Namgying looked confused and asked what the emperor wanted this time. Maybe he was thinking of picking the next ruler soon. Namgying immediately buttered him up, calling him the only man he trusted. The old man soaked up that flattery like a complete fool. Hyun, meanwhile, was already totally drained by this old man talk. Later on, they were back at the emperor's gate to say their goodbyes. His tearful father told him to listen to his uncle and train hard. Then came the usual overprotective lecture, eat your meals, right, twice a week. At last, they started to head out, and Hyun felt a wave of relief. Finally, the awkward scene was coming to an end. But that relief didn't last long. Before leaving, his father turned back and gave him one last dramatic wave in the most embarrassing way possible. Hyun was absolutely mortified, though deep down, he was clearly happy to be cared for. Arts, eat properly, train twice a week, and so on. At last they leave, and Hyun feels a wave of relief that the awkward scene is finally over. That peace doesn't last long, though. Before they head out, his father and the vassal, she gave him one final dramatic wave in the most embarrassing way possible. Hyun was completely mortified, though deep down, he was happy for the care. Now look, one of those massive estates belonged to the Namgying clan. Just then his uncle calls out and Hyun turns around. Right away the Namgying patriarch simply motions for him to follow. Hyun figures it out. This is where the real training starts. They walk through the city, greeting people all along the way. It doesn't take long for Hyun to notice just how popular the man is. Everywhere they go, people bow and greet him with such deep respect. But what impresses Hyun most is the sheer scale of the Namgying clan. City guards stand watch on every corner. Yet the moment they see their leader, they step aside. The Namgying patriarch leads him upward, heading toward the castle wall. Hyun is honestly amazed by the view from up here. Then, the old man suddenly begins to float. Hyun realizes the Sword King is using aerial steps, a move even his own master can't pull off. After a moment, the old man lands on a wooden structure and turns, telling Hyun to follow. Hyun could have used Vegara sect movement arts to get there just as easily. But he quickly guesses the Sword King wouldn't like that. The old guy would probably blow a fuse asking why Hyun was mixed up with those beggar sect bastards. So Hyun chooses a different method. He leaps up toward the patriarch and sticks the landing right in front of him. The old man praises his speed and Hyun feels pretty honored. Then out of nowhere, the old man asks if he noticed the streets on the way here. He wants to know how many places Hyun thinks they passed. Hyun shivers. He realizes this might have been a test the whole time. But the patriarch answers for him. It was 64 places. Hyun tries to apologize for not paying enough attention. Instead of getting angry, the old man says every one of those places belongs to the Namgying clan. Hyun isn't sure he heard that right, so he asks the man to repeat it. The patriarch points toward a pavilion near the mountain entrance and asks if Hyun can see it. Hyun says yes, and the old man explains that everything from that pavilion to the far side is Namgying land. He asks if all those lands and buildings aren't just enormous. Still confused, Hyun just agrees that yes, it is huge. Then the old man turns and asks what he thinks of it all. Hyun is totally lost. The man just keeps on asking these questions. Not sure he heard right, Hyun asked the old man to repeat it. The patriarch pointed toward a pavilion near the mountain entrance. He asked if Hyun could see it. Hyun nodded, confused. Then the old man explained that everything from that pavilion to the far side was Namgying land. He asked if all those lands and buildings didn't seem enormous. Still lost, Hyun just muttered that yes, it was huge. The old man turned, his gaze sharp, asking what Hyun thought of it all. Hyun was totally bewildered. The man kept pushing. He hinted that if Hyun married his granddaughter, most of the clan's wealth could be his. Hyun flatly refused. The old man, offended, demanded a real reason. So Hyun reminded him he is the only son of the Yu clan. Most of Anping belongs to his family, and the emperor constantly sends them gifts. He answered himself, actually convinced this whole trip was just some test. A test of his movement, maybe, as Hyun prepped himself to run. The old man interrupted, asking if he finally understood the meaning here. Hyun barely heard him, muscles tensed, ready to bolt in a heartbeat. As he stepped forward, the patriarch shook his head, looking disappointed. "You still do not get it," he said, even after seeing all this. Only then, the word possessions finally hit Hyun like a lightning strike. He slammed his head into the ground, hit by a sudden, sharp realization. Lifting his bruised face, he begged the old man to speak plainly. With a fake, oily smirk, the patriarch dropped the real bomb. A massive chunk of all this treasure could belong to Hyun. Total silence. Hyun was completely floored by the sheer scale of it. Then came the catch. He just had to marry the granddaughter. It was a massive dowry, enough to buy an entire kingdom. Now it all clicked, and you can see the panic setting in. Hyun finally saw why he had been dragged all the way here. The old man confirmed it with a nod. That was the reason. It all made sense why the Sword King pressured his father so much. Still grinning, the patriarch promised to handle the girl. Hey! He told Hyun not to worry, but Hyun thought this was pure insanity. Think about it. Who would sign up for a forced marriage like this? He just leapt off the roof, desperate to put distance between them. If the Sword King was already pushing marriage, he had to be senile. The old man scrambled after him, howling for the rascal to wait. Hyun acted like he was deaf, leaping further away into the distance. Behind him, the old man's face twisted into a terrifying, greedy grin. He shouted that he could offer even more if Hyun just stopped. That was when Hyun really felt the weight of his new life. He had been reborn as a martial arts prodigy, which should be great. But having the Sword King's eyes fixed on him ruined everything. The old man skidded to a halt, roaring out one final, desperate offer. "Marry her," he yelled, "and the entire Namgying fortune is yours." Hyun flatly refused, his expression hardening in total, cold disgust. Offended, the patriarch demanded to know exactly why he was saying no. Hyun reminded him of his position. He is the only Yu son. Most of Anping already belongs to his family, after all. Even the emperor keeps sending gifts to his father. So why would he ever need a single thing from the Namgying clan? Why on earth would he marry just for money? He let out a tired sigh. This marriage talk needed to end. Hyun was only here because he thought he would be learning martial arts. Finally, the old man realized wealth meant nothing to a kid raised with everything. But as the one man who broke every limit to become the Sword King, he had to offer more. A little later, the old man started showing off with a flurry of sword moves. Hyun just wondered why he had been dragged out for this so early. Namgying finished, proudly declaring it the emperor's sword style. He asked if it wasn't amazing. Hyun only thought old people must wake up too early. Then the old man threw his blade, calling it the explosive, vibrant blade. The steel sliced into the tree over and over from every angle. And Hyun's first thought, whether those trees were actually expensive. The old man kept parading one technique after another for quite a while. Finally breathing hard, he looked at Hyun. These are the secrets of a legend. You have to admit, watching this master try so hard is honestly hilarious. He stood there gasping for air, waiting for some kind of praise, but Hyun was just standing there, completely unimpressed by the entire display. It was supposed to be a grand lesson, yet it felt like a chore. The patriarch wiped his brow, refusing to give up on his stubborn student. He gathered his focus, ready to show his absolute peak performance. A single strike followed, tearing through the air with terrifying speed. The pressure alone made the ground beneath them tremble. Hyun finally perked up. Maybe there was something to this after all. He watched the path of the blade, his eyes narrowing in genuine interest. It wasn't just showmanship anymore. There was real power behind that swing. Namgang smiled, seeing that spark of curiosity finally ignite in the boy. He stepped back, offering the sword to Hyun with a challenge in his eyes. "If you want to learn," he said, "then stop dreaming and pick up the steel." Hyun reached out, his fingers brushing against the cold, worn handle. The morning mist swirled around them, setting the stage for his first real lesson. These arts are meant only for direct Namgang descendants. The old man was about to mention that marrying his granddaughter would let Hun learn them all, but Hun was already walking away panicking. The old man threw himself at him, insisting he pay attention. These were priceless techniques. No amount of money could buy them. Han said he already knew that, but everything shown so far was nothing special. The old man burst out laughing. Sure, it had to be a joke. He said Han was talented, sure, but he'd only just started martial arts, so there was no way he could grasp how great these techniques were. He started explaining that martial arts are built up and refined over generations when Hun cut him off, saying he could do that easily. Stunned, the old man told him to stop talking nonsense. Hun calmly asked if he should prove it, picking up a branch. He figured this was probably the only way to make the old man back off. Rumors were going to spread anyway, so acting like a genius one more time couldn't hurt. He began swinging the branch while his uncle kept telling him to quit joking. Then Hun slid the branch into an invisible sheath. After a brief pause to focus, he started his demonstration. The old man froze in confusion. Han was actually using the Emperor's sword style, and he was doing it beautifully with nothing but a branch. The old man couldn't believe his eyes. He immediately yelled for Hun to stop. Angry and shaken, he demanded to know what was going on and how Hun had learned the Emperor's sword style. Without a hint of fear, Hun answered that the old man himself taught him. Still baffled, he asked if Hun meant that seriously. Hun replied that he'd just seen it demonstrated a moment ago. That's when the old man understood. Calling someone a genius didn't even begin to cover what this boy was. Well, he stood there thinking. Realizing Hun copied it after seeing it once, Hun called out to him. He asked if the old man always stood around staring and drooling like this. Then Hun tossed the branch aside and said he definitely wasn't marrying his granddaughter. The old man only muttered okay. He watches the branch fall, but his eyes tell a different story. Burning, intense, he decides right there, this boy is perfect, and he'll force a marriage no matter the cost. Meanwhile, in Namgang City, three figures move stealthily through the crowded streets. They blend into the townspeople perfectly until one of them signals the others to split up. He pauses, recalling everything he discovered on this job. After paying a local for secrets, the man spilled it all. A client arrived 2 days back, he says. This stranger immediately hunted down anyone who knew about Huang Shan and started digging for info on the Crimson Pebble. The name he gave was Jin Weigong, and naturally, the informant was silenced right after. Back at the protagonist's quarters, someone is outside screaming for his uncle. It's a loud, demanding voice right at his doorstep. Hyun opens the door to see who is making all that noise. It's his former master, now acting like his nephew. Demanding to know why Hyun isn't training, Hyun just brushes it off, telling him he has no interest in learning the Namding, clan's cultivation art that immediately sets the boy off. Furious, he orders Hyun to follow him this instant. Hyun just thinks back, in his past life, that glare would have scared him to death, but now it looks honestly kind of cute. The boy is beyond angry, hating this entire setup, especially after finding out Hyun is so naturally gifted he can mirror a technique after seeing it just once. Still, he believes that raw talent and external moves without any internal training just lead to a pathetic fighter. Even now, he senses absolutely zero traces of internal energy coming from Hyun. So, he grabs Hyun's shoulder, trying to force his hand, barking one more command for him to come along. Hyun just thinks this fool is digging his own early grave, giving him a wicked, chilling look. He decides it is finally time to start training his disciple properly. He shoves the boy's hand off his shoulder and says he's heard all about his nephew's plans to teach him, but honestly, there is nothing to learn from such a guy. If anything, Hyun should be the one teaching his useless nephew. The boy snaps, claiming he's been polite enough to call him uncle, yet Hyun still dares to act as arrogant. Hyun just asks him what kind of expression he is wearing. Is he actually going to hit his own uncle just to drag him along? Then he tells him to go ahead and try it, calling his bluff. Nephew again. That word alone pushed the boy over the edge. A dark aura rippled off him, and Hyun asked why the name was such a problem. Then, with a twisted grin, he just kept goading him, nephew, nephew. The boy shouted that Hyun was completely insane, arrogant beyond any belief. Honestly, arrogant was too weak a word for the rage boiling inside him. He should have been cursing Hyun out with far worse, but he held back. The provocation hit hard. He looked ready to explode right there. But still, he didn't swear. Kim pointed out how casual he sounded. He mocked him for only knowing that one insult. In his past life, this man used a different curse every single day. Hyun remembered him well, a guy who swore constantly back in the day. When he was young, the guy was unmatched with a blade. People even called him the Sword King of 7 emotions. He had pushed every human feeling to its limit through his martial arts. He would beat someone up just for waking up in a bad mood, or he would lash out just because he felt great after a meal. Because of all those wild moods, Hyun had suffered a lot under him. The vagabond sect walked by. This kind of thing happened all the time. These men were from the Jewish sect, sworn enemies of the beggar sect. Since this wasn't a fight between martial artists, they kept on walking. They wanted no part of it, turning their backs to stay out of the mess. But the villains secretly signaled that the pair had left and they could strike. He's been through so much. None of this adds up. Why is this guy acting so polite now, when in the other timeline, he completely spiraled into absolute madness? If that changes, one of Moram's heroes might never exist. Hugh just couldn't allow that. Not on his watch. At first, he only planned to help with martial arts. But now, he has to fix the boy's personality, too. He calls it a pain, though that wicked smile on his face says otherwise. His nephew, now calling his uncle a total scoundrel, demands to know what he's even talking about. Then, Huang suddenly flashes in front of him and tells him he'll understand after getting beaten up. The man is startled, wondering if that was heavenly. When skating, taking his stance, he declares a cheap copy has no chance. Then he rushes in, claiming he'll show him the massive gap between the real thing and a fake. His attacks are genuinely fierce. Even Hyun is impressed as he slips past the blows, but attacks like that aren't going to touch him. The man strikes again and Hyun leaps in an odd way, purely by instinct. The boy quickly brings up his guard, but a sharp kick easily knocks him off balance. He blocks it. Yet the force still sends him flying several meters. As the boy gasps for air, Hyun asks if all he planned to do was block. Then Hyun charges. Again at blinding speed, expecting a punch, the boy tries to block, but the strike never lands there. For a split second, he thinks about dodging with internal energy, but Hyun, smiling coldly, tells him that won't work. A fist wrapped in blue aura is already waiting. The boy realizes too late and tries to take the hit with internal energy, but he quickly finds he can't stop it at all. He stumbles. Hyun uses the opening, driving his fist down and tearing through his defense. The hit lands cleanly. He even uses a namding clan technique with explosive illumination. He smashes his nephew right in the face and even laughs while doing it. The poor kid flies backward and crashes into a wall. Hyun goes after him. Again, while he's already weakened, the boy is completely overwhelmed, coughing up blood. Shocked, he asks how Hyun could possibly use explosive energy. How did he pull off that move when he has no internal energy? Did he really pick it up from just one brief touch? If he did, then this kid is a legit heaven-sent genius. Nothing he tries is working against this absolute monster. Standing over him, Hyun just says one thing. His nephew still has a lot to learn, poor guy. He's shaking with fear as the sounds of impact just keep ringing out. Hyun is absolutely beating him down, not letting up at all. Hyun shouts that he's waited way too long for this exact moment. With every word, he just keeps kicking and smashing the kid's face in. Not a shred of mercy, he's unleashing years of pent-up rage. This is exactly what he had to suffer under this guy before. In his past life, he spent every day just waiting for this day. Now that it's finally here, he's honestly thrilled to be doing this. The nephew keeps cursing through the pain, begging him to just stop. It hurts too much. Then suddenly, something clicks in his mind. He remembers the words from his past life, sharp and clear. Everything he's feeling right now, it's just pure, unadulterated anger. Tears streaming down his face, he screams at Hyun. Quit the nonsense, he yells, but it doesn't stop the assault. Another brutal hook smashes into him, sending him reeling. Seeing the kid is still way too weak, Hyun starts planning. He needs to make him stronger, and fast. He's even thinking about hunting down that second mystical creature now. A bit later, he points at the boy with a cold look. They're training together from now on, no exceptions. And just like that, the poor kid's nightmare really begins. Back at the Namding Palace, the harsh training continues non-stop. 10 straight days of this grueling, absolute hell. Through that nightmare, the boy finally starts to show some life. He lets all those bottled up feelings finally explode. He swings his sword a desperate, wild motion. Hyun can tell immediately that attack has actual energy behind it. Just a few days in, and he's already channeled it. He's finally managed to mix his raw anger into the blade. That's when Hyun realizes something huge about his nephew. This kid only grows when you push him to the absolute limit. Merging anger into his power is a good start for now. Next, he has to learn how to draw that anger out on command. Thinking that, Hyun lunges and sends him flying with a strike. He rushes in again for another follow-up punch. But this time, the nephew's face looks completely different. His eyes aren't just scared anymore. They're burning with rage. That's exactly what Hyun was waiting to see. The nephew retaliates with a massive strike wrapped in an angry aura. Panic hit him hard the moment he realized he messed up. If Hyun decided to attack right now, he was done for. Out cold for 3 days, easy. But unexpectedly, Hyun spoke up. They were finished for the day, and they had somewhere to be. His nephew, naturally, could only stammer out a question, where? Hyun turned, giving him a look that could kill. Was he questioning him? Knowing another brutal beating was on the table, he froze. The boy scrambled to his feet, shouting that they should leave. Right away, even though he had no idea where they were going. He was finally learning the hard way. In another part of the Namdang clan city, life went on. People moved through the streets, completely unaware of the tension. A passerby stopped at a beggar, dropping a coin into his bowl. The beggar muttered his thanks, but the man didn't move. Instead, he leaned in. He needed to speak with him. He was one of their own, delivering a critical report. Their leader, Jin Weikang, was nowhere to be found in the city. The beggar stayed quiet for a long beat, then finally looked up. He pressed for confirmation, and the disguised man nodded yes. But he added a strange detail. Someone odd had shown up. Instantly, the leader demanded a name. The answer hit him like a shock. Yu Chen, Song Wen's son, currently staying with the Namdang clan. The man asked if they should bring the captain into this. After a tense, brief thought, the beggar caught a glimpse of movement. Hyun and his nephew were walking past them in the street. He decided against it. No captain. They would handle this themselves. They needed to move carefully, investigating this on their own. Without a word, one of his men slipped away to tail them. Hyun and the boy kept moving, totally oblivious to the shadow. The messenger stood, and the beggar called out his thanks again. But the real order was clear. Proceed with the plan. Still, they were being watched by someone else entirely. Two men were lurking nearby, eyes locked on the beggar. He was earning money on their turf without paying a cut. They were absolutely furious, ready to beat him into the dirt. A bit later, the nephew complained the books were all so depressing, full of sad stories and miserable people, just endless gloom. Why did they have to carry so many of them around? Hyun replied that he needed real experience, not just theory. No one had ever gotten sick from a little hard work. The protagonist grew up rich, so the boy couldn't really argue. He handed him a Beijing opera script instead, told him to laugh loudly. The boy stood there, completely confused. But after a while, he actually started getting into it. Happiness calms the heart, he explains, keeping sadness and anger at bay. If his nephew just keeps his heart settled, he'll avoid losing control. A calm mind sees clearly, he insists, helping him understand his enemies. The boy says he understands and promises to remember that lesson well. He asks again what they should do with all those gloomy books. Suddenly, the scene shifts. We're back with that group of fake beggars. By now, they've already picked their targets, and the order is simple. Follow quietly, observe, stay completely out of sight from everyone else. Their leader claims he'll track the main guy personally for the sect. Everyone else gets the same warning, be careful and stay unseen. They're about to leave, but then someone suddenly shouts out a name. Hyun and his nephew turn at once, checking to see what's happening. The same guy from earlier is accusing the beggar of dodging taxes. Just like that, their entire careful plan is completely falling apart. When the beggar asks who they are, the men mock his boldness. The leader steps up, introducing himself as Wang Ti of the Jewish sect. Acting terrified, the fake beggar begs for a bit of mercy. Wang Ti just sneers, ordering his men to start the beating. The fake leader knows he can't fight back or his cover is blown. He's stuck. He wonders if he should just take the hit. Watching from nearby, the nephew asks if they should step in. Hyun shakes his head. He knows the boy has been too sheltered. The real world isn't a fairy tale, and they can't save everyone. These petty street fights between rival sects happen all the time. Since these men are Jewish sect thugs, they're natural beggar enemies. But because this isn't a true martial arts duel, there's no reason to interfere. They turn their backs and keep walking, ignoring the noise behind them. Little do they know, the villains are secretly signaling that the coast is clear. Now watch this. Everything is about to change in a heartbeat. A violent purple aura explodes from the alley, shaking the entire street. They scream for everyone to freeze, catching the vagabond leader off guard. He has no idea what's hitting him before he's blasted away. One of the thugs shouts for the boy, but it's already too late. Suddenly, a purple aura bursts from the alley, and they ordered everyone to stop. The vagabond leader didn't see it coming. He got blasted away from the beggar. One of his men shouted for the boy, but they were already under control. A controlled flame flared up while the protagonist watched it all unfold. Before the strike could even land, he calmly ordered them to stop. The young man halted instantly. Hu soon got mad, growling that this time he could have eaten the virgin ginseng. He should at least be at the energy condensation stage by now. But he feels nothing. The senior fighters moved toward the wreckage as the tension peaked. He muttered that they had arrived much sooner than he expected. Touching his face, he wondered if the old man already knew his game. Surrounded now, the villain leader waves his gang off. He wants this one for himself, alone. Scrambling up, the man orders his thugs to seize the beggar. But under that crushing aura, not a single one can move. The beggar just walks right up to his attacker. He asks if the guy even understands what he just did. This was a rare chance, maybe the only one they would ever get. Failure wasn't allowed here. So the vagabond boy is going to pay the ultimate price. He grabs the kid by the head hard and does exactly what you would expect after that. Then he mentions a river nearby, telling his men to dump the rest and wipe away every trace. They obey him at once. That night, several vagabond clan members just vanish for beating a beggar. Not far away, someone is shaking in the bushes. He is one of Wang's men, and he has just realized something huge. These people are no ordinary vagabonds. And that beggar, he definitely isn't from the beggar sect. Crying as he runs, he knows he has to report this to the sect immediately. Back at the Namgang Pavilion, the family patriarch is absolutely furious. He is demanding to know why his granddaughter still has not arrived. He called for her to come marry, but she refused flat out. She simply did not want to. Worse, she already headed off to the battlefield to fight the unorthodox sect. She made sure her letter arrived only after she had already left. That only makes the old man angrier. In a sudden burst of rage, he complains about how these kids are being raised. Since she clearly is not coming back, he decides to send Hun to her instead. Happy with that plan, he heads off to find the protagonist. Then he suddenly hears loud, aggressive swearing. He instantly assumes intruders have managed to break inside. So he jumps the wall to check, but what he finds surprises him. Hyun is swinging swords at his own nephew. The boy is cursing nonstop and crying through every attack. A golden aura starts rising from the lad's sword. The old man thinks it looks just like a controlled flame. Before the final strike lands, the protagonist notices him. He orders them to stop immediately. The young man halts at once, but Hu soon gets mad, shouting that this time he could have really finished it. The old man froze in sheer terror. The man standing in front of him, he finally recognized him. Stop! The young man halts at once, and Hu is fuming, shouting that this time he could have. Hu smacks his head hearing Soon swear like that. It actually seems to impress the old man. Meanwhile, the main character asks what he is doing there. Dropping down from the roof, the old man explains. The training caught his interest and Hyun speaks up. He tells him he can watch. That makes the old man wonder if this is even still his own house. He asks if Hyun is teaching Soon basic swordsmanship, but Hyun denies it and says they are only training. That makes the young patriarch wonder why he is lying. The old man points out that the boy used a technique. Unlike any the clan has, Hyun says he created it himself. That startles the young man who asks what his uncle means. Hyun then explains. It is the sword of 7 emotions, a technique built entirely around a person's feelings. The old man studies that idea with interest and realizes the clan, long built on speed and variation, is entering a new era. When the main character asks why, he has come. The old man says he needs him to go to the Moram Alliance, but before he can explain more, a man interrupts to report that someone from the Hefei beggar sect has arrived and that something terrible seems to have happened, the old man tells the main character they will speak later, soon decides he should go see for himself, left behind. He thinks those two really are alike, and since he has nothing better to do, he might as well take a walk through the city. As he moves along, some people watch him. One quietly asks their leader what to do. The man, dressed as a beggar, thinks they might not get another chance like this, so he orders everyone to go after him. His men agree and plan to grab him. Once he reaches a quieter spot, the city is crowded and the main character is glad he can finally look around in peace. Things had been rough before because people from vamping recognized him, still remembering those smiling faces and the gifts they gave him makes him miss them. The former fatty wonders if everyone is doing well and knows that if he wants to return to Vamping Prefecture and keep the peace, he needs to act now. No room for hesitation. Not before this chaos gets out of control. Then he notices someone passing by looks a little familiar. He's certain he's seen that face around the streets. He brushes it off, probably just a stranger. But then he picks up on something shady. He locks in. He finished his dumpling, keeping his eyes on the target. That guy is definitely watching him. Time ticks away. He keeps moving through the city, heart steady. That same man is still tailing him. He passes an old beggar, and he realizes it's the vagabond who got beaten yesterday. That really grates on him. Did the guy honestly think a disguise would work? He remembers hearing about something terrible hitting the beggar sect. He's sure these people are behind that mess. So he calls over a man pretending to read a book nearby. He asks him casually what he's doing there. That sudden move totally rattles the men following him. He smashes the guy right in the groin. Talk about a wake-up call. In the confusion, our main character slips away. The others rush after him, determined not to let him escape. But when they reach the alley he entered, he's already gone. The long-haired man wonders if he even came this way. Then the protagonist speaks from a rooftop. He asks who they are and why so many men are hunting him. He knows they must want something specific from him. The old man glares, clearly irritated by the games. The protagonist drops down from above, landing silent as a cat. He coldly asks why they're swarming him like rats. Then he asks if they're the same people who chased him last night. One look at their faces tells him he's hit the mark. He wonders if they're leftovers from the Nine Dragons Fortress, or maybe they're just desperate for the virgin ginseng. The old man tells his goons killing him would be simple, but the boy is tied to a former government official. That could get messy if the authorities get involved. He asks straight out if he is Jin Wei Gong. You know, the one who took the virgin ginseng? The protagonist plays dumb, asking who that is. That makes the narrow-eyed old man doubt himself. Maybe they really had the wrong person. If he truly ate the virgin ginseng, he should be stronger. He should be at the energy condensation stage by now. Yet, he feels absolutely nothing from the boy. Eaten the virgin ginseng, he should at least be at the energy condensation stage, but he feels nothing. Our former chubby hero has mastered the beggar's art of hiding his internal energy. He knows how to mask his aura so well that these fools won't suspect a thing. But he also realizes the truth. They trekked all this way for the virgin ginseng. That means one thing. They are definitely in league with the servants of chaos. No point in waiting around. He's going to grab them and squeeze the truth out. The narrow-eyed elder tries to play nice, calling it all just a big misunderstanding. But the protagonist shuts that down fast. They aren't leaving until they talk. Watching them pull this act is pathetic. He wants to know exactly who they are. The old man stops pretending and finally drops the mask, ordering his goons to attack. Senior fighters charge in, but they're holding back, refusing to use lethal techniques. Seeing them rush him like that, it just makes him want to crush them even more. With one clean strike each, he drops 2 men, sending them flying into a wall. He turns to the old man with a cold stare, Did you think I was weak? Attacking without even using skills. That is just an insult to his time. The narrow-eyed man starts to sweat. How did someone with no visible energy do that? The protagonist brushes the fallen fighters aside and asks if the elder plans to run. That question alone is enough to push the old man over the edge. Our hero knows he's outnumbered here, so he decides to put on a show. He asks if they want to keep playing games before grabbing one of the downed men. He bolts. The long-haired elder snaps and chases him, striking from behind in a rage. Our hero easily ducks the attack and quickly scans the area for his next move. He spots the perfect spot for his plan. It is time to turn the tables. He tenses his muscles and hurls the captive straight onto a nearby rooftop. The man crashed right through, sending the people inside into a total panic. Then he leaps high into the air, coiling his body for a massive kick. A single blow tears the entire structure apart, pure raw power on display. The senior fighters edge toward the wreckage, cautious of what he'll do next. He smiles, noting they arrived even sooner than he had expected. Touching his face, he wonders if the old man finally connected the dots. Now watch this. The moment the old man freezes, paralyzed by sudden, gut-wrenching fear. He recognizes the man standing right in front of him. There is no mistaking it. Showing off his changed appearance, the hero taunts the fool for following him. He tracked him all the way into the very center of Hefei. The hero asks if they still want to keep playing their little game, because now they have to answer to him and the two clans protecting this city. The senior fighters move toward the twisted wreckage, and he says they have arrived sooner than expected. Touching his face, he wonders if the old man already knew. Then he freezes in pure fear. The man in front of him is someone he recognizes now, showing. Looking at his own new face, he calls the fool a dead man. The guy trailed him right into the heart of Hefei. He actually dares to ask if they want to keep playing. Now they have to deal with him and the consequences. The two clans protecting the city are finally starting to realize. The man is furious. He didn't expect our hero to be this sharp. Fighting two clans at once is a death sentence, he realizes. They need to clear out of Hefei right now, but first, he orders the seniors to finish the protagonist off no matter what. Our hero catches on immediately. They're trying to silence him for good. He plants his feet, shattering the stone beneath him with raw force. Chunks of rock fly into the air as he looks them dead in the eye. Did they really think he had no cards left to play? He snatches the flying debris midair, a cold glint in his gaze. They should have run while they still had the chance. 12 consecutive cuts. He strikes them all in one fluid motion. But suddenly, someone lunges at him from the shadows behind. Our hero acknowledges him. He actually managed to track him this far. But a real martial artist doesn't get taken out by something that's simple. Just as he's being choked, the man swallows a mysterious pill. Something feels wrong. The man suddenly drops dead on the spot. And in that heartbeat, he realizes the old man's true, twisted goal. He spins around to stop him, but it's already too late. The old man has already executed the captured comrade without hesitation. Chaos erupts as the others start cutting down their own allies. They're wiping out every witness to leave no evidence behind. The old man screams the order, retreat, now. The three elders scatter, fleeing into the city streets. If that's how they want to play, our hero isn't holding back either. He tears after them, his momentum unstoppable. Through the city they race, a blur of movement. One of the elders realizes he can't outrun death, so he stops. He turns to fight, but the protagonist slips past his sword strike. One motion, one hit, the man falls, his life ending instantly. Our hero doesn't care if they live or die. He just keeps moving. The old man whispers something urgent to his remaining subordinate. They reach a corner and split up, banking on the confusion. Now watch this. Here is where the tension hits its peak. Our hero worries he might lose the trail, but then the old man freezes, eyes wide with total shock. Ahead, men are screaming for them to halt and surrender. They're the clan guards, finally locking down the city gates. Our hero scoffs. They took their sweet time, but they're here. With the path blocked, he can focus entirely on the chase. The old man sprints harder, desperate to lose his shadow. But our hero is right there, a nightmare closing in fast. He knows that getting caught here means everything ends. Every second counts as they weave through the maze of streets. There is nowhere left to hide now. The endgame has officially begun. One wrong move now ruins everything, so he desperately pulls it out. A strange little ball starts spinning, and he hurls it forward. It flies straight at our main character, but when he glances back, the target's just gone, and the ball sails into empty space before exploding a second later. Then suddenly, the main character appears, calls out to him, and lands a punch right in his face. The hit launches him across the street until he slams hard into a brick wall, cracking his fingers. The main character tells him to just give it up. His men are already captured and beaten. The old man demands to know who he is and why he hit him, but the winner gets the right to ask first. He asks where the narrow-eyed old man came from, then warns that if he won't talk, they have all the time in the world to really get to know each other. Struggling back up, the old man thinks about everything he has already sacrificed for this plan, even his own people and himself. Before he dies, he is going to kill this bastard. First, seeing that look, the main character knows it is the face of someone making one last desperate move that only makes the old man even angrier. He snaps, asking if this all looks like a joke. The main character checks around and sees none of the sect members nearby, so he decides to just end it with one single strike. The old man doesn't understand what he means, but he braces himself. He decides to kill him quickly and shut him up. He assumes the main character will rush into close the distance and plans to take that moment to cut off his head, but the main character remembers the perfect martial art to show the massive gap between them. He settles into a calm stance and presses into the ground, drawing power through his whole body. A heavy aura rises from his feet, moves up his frame, and gathers in his fist. Then, a massive strike slams into the old man. Without the main character even stepping forward, the old man takes the crushing blow in stunned confusion, while the main character watches without a hint of doubt. The elder is blasted into the wall again, and the impact triggers a huge explosion. The main character asks if that was enough, then says this is Shaolin Supreme Art, the 30-meter mystic fist. He'd been told if he mastered this, he could unleash thousands of strikes. He stares down at the old man sprawled out on the cold ground. Now he's left wondering, what exactly is his next move? He can't drag answers out of a guy who's unconscious. Luckily, a stranger steps out, claiming to be the leader of the beggar sect. The guy wants to take the prisoner off his hands right now. He agrees, walking over toward the body with these new arrivals. The two beggars lean in, giving the unconscious man a quick look over. They tell their leader it is exactly as the rumors described. The beggar sect elder asks him to just leave the prisoner behind. Our hero stays quiet, but he is completely baffled by the request. What on earth is that sneaky old thief even talking about? Before he can ask, someone comes sprinting over, yelling for his uncle. It is the young master, looking panicked and completely out of breath. The first thing he notices is the state of our hero's clothes. They are soaked, torn, and absolutely covered in thick, dark dirt. The boy has turned strangely loyal in just 10 days. He gets fired up, demanding to know who dared lay a hand on him. Our hero just smacks him on the head and tells him to quiet down. The young master is stunned, blinking, asking why he got hit. The protagonist raises his hand again, visibly annoyed by the boy's reaction. He dodges, and the beggar sect elder watches this weird display closely. The elder is actually busy studying the guy on the ground. He realizes the truth. This man was no weakling at all. His allies were at the manifested energy level, maybe even projected energy. And yet, this young man took them all down by himself. The old beggar apologizes for his earlier tone, showing some quick respect. Our hero notes that the beggar sect was already hunting this guy. The elder explains that the Ghoul sect, tied to their own, was wiped out. It was people just like him, ruthless and cold. He asks how our hero is connected to them, his eyes searching. The young man realizes he is being tested, squeezed for information. So he plays it cool, saying the thieves were chasing someone else entirely. They simply mistook him for their target in the heat of the moment. He remembers all the harsh training and the beatings he endured. He is not about to get played by some sly old man today. The bearded elder still looks suspicious, convinced he is hiding something big. Still, the elder thinks their paths crossing here might be useful later. Maybe, if things get desperate, he can even trace this back to the Namgong clan. For now, though, our hero can't do much of anything at all. He still lacks the raw power to force the truth out. These enemies stay hidden, moving in the shadows, waiting for their next move. Our hero is in a tight spot, limited by his current strength. These enemies are crafty, staying hidden and moving in total shadows. Nobody knows what they might try to pull next. Word spreads fast. Their entire pursuit team just got wiped out. If that news hits, the whole Yu clan could be destroyed. He knows the risks. He has to draw their attention away. And these beggars, they are perfect for the job. You know how they are. They live to dig up secrets. Once they start sniffing around, he'll finally gain some time. All he needs to do is point them in the right direction. So, our lead pretends he actually remembers the group's name. The bearded man is already getting excited, begging him to spill. But our hero flatly refuses to hand it over just yet. He nearly died in that last fight, and he's still not sure. Can he really trust this beggar leader? He throws his disciple a look, a silent plea for some backup. Faced with that genuinely terrifying expression, the young man can only wonder what he did wrong. He starts racking his brain, trying to use everything he learned. Calling on all his training in statcraft, he steps in. He tells the beggar to back off, warning him. He's putting his uncle in a really tough spot. That just annoys our protagonist. The kid totally wrecked his plan. Still, the beggar backs down and apologizes. He claims this is about sect honor, and he wants custody of the man. Before his disciple can say another word, our lead agrees. Honestly, there really is no better option on the table. But he makes it clear anything connected to him stays secret. If they learn something, they better share it with him first. The bearded man gives his word, promising they will. Our hero says goodbye with a sly, knowing smile. The beggars watch him walk away, completely under his spell. The long-haired man feels like he just got played. He didn't even manage to collect an information fee. But his leader scolds him, bringing up a chilling phrase, something about the ruin of the heavens. That implies these people want to tear the world apart. In other words, they could be plotting to completely overturn the entire Murim world. If they question this man and uncover that plot, it could be enough to make him an elder of the main sect. So he orders his men to grab the prisoner. It is time to head back to the sect headquarters. A few hours later, night falls and the protagonist starts thinking. His servant was supposed to find clues about that second mystical creature, but the story has shifted. What matters now is being far more careful, especially since they completely failed to get it. He knows they'll rush for that second mystical creature now. It's a race against time. He has to move fast. If he's too slow, the whole sect is going to crash into chaos. A sudden shout stops him. It's the old man, and he looks worried. He's asking if the protagonist is really heading to the Orthodox Murmur Alliance. Again and again he asks, "Are you actually serious about this?" The answer is a flat yes. Our hero needs that real-world experience. The old man sighs and finally agrees, telling him to stick with Rai. Then he adds that Sing needs to tag along for the trip too. That leaves the young master completely stunned. He never saw that coming. But the old man shakes his head, saying it's probably impossible. Sing is the young patriarch now, so he has real responsibilities. Our hero gets it instantly. Duty keeps him tied to the sect. So he nods, telling them he'll start packing his gear right away. As he heads for the door, his mind starts wandering. He remembers the rumors. Besides Rai, there are 5 other phoenixes. And word on the street is they're all incredibly beautiful. He's actually looking forward to meeting them. Who wouldn't? The old man watches him walk off, realizing exactly where his head is. Hyun keeps rambling, already dreaming about getting married soon. After all, spring is just around the corner. Perfect timing. The old man loses it, shouting that they need an emergency clan meeting. Meanwhile, Hyun walks away with a bounce in his step. He's pretty pleased with himself. The whole plan worked perfectly. The scene shifts to the Yangtze River, where a massive ship waits. A man orders his crew to inspect the vessel with total precision. Then a bald guy steps up, pulling an envelope from his robes. He hands it over, calling it a sign of his absolute sincerity. That's enough to get the man to call off his subordinates. They head off to grab breakfast, leaving the bald man behind. He watches them leave with a polite smile, but he's mocking them inside. In his head, he's laughing at how easy these officials are to buy. He heads deep into the ship, calling out to the crew. He's warning them to stay away from the storage cabin area. It's all so their hidden guest can get some actual rest. The guest replies, promising the rest of the payment upon arrival. The bald man climbs back up to the deck, feeling relieved. They just have to sneak past the Black Whale Fortress. If they can pay the toll, everything should go off without a hitch. He's just thinking that when he spots our guy. In the dark, he promises to pay the rest upon arrival. The bald man thanks him and heads back up to the deck. They feel a moment of relief just past Black Whale Fortress. Pay the toll, and everything should be smooth sailing from here. But then the captain spots our hero waiting. The protagonist and the young patriarch board the ship together. A few hours pass, the sails are raised, and they finally set off. Someone immediately pulls him aside, warning him not to provoke the pirates. If he picks a fight, the losses for the crew will be massive. Even though our hero clearly wants to take them down, he hesitates. The young man explains that the trouble would be far bigger than he thinks. If a real battle breaks out here, it will be a total disaster. Every single pirate in the fortress might come swarming toward their deck. Worse, they have a monster of a fighter waiting for them. Someone says this man rivals the grandfather. He is known as U.S. Agent, the Sea Dragon King, the so-called monster of the deep. He slams the table, warning that if the protagonist loses control and starts a war, the damage will be catastrophic, so he needs to stay quiet. Our hero just listens without a word, staring intently at his disciple. Then he suddenly reaches out and punches the guy in the head. The young man complains solving everything with fists is truly awful. Meanwhile, the protagonist is still thinking about this Sea Dragon Emperor. For now, it seems he really has no choice but to lay low. Hours later, the ship is out on the open sea, cruising along. A man at the front watches the horizon until he spots something strange. He calls out, and suddenly, a massive Black Whale Fortress ship appears. A vessel flying black flags moves toward them, and the whole crew goes pale. The ships meet, and a huge pirate boards the protagonist's vessel. The bald captain greets him, saying it has been a long time. He turns to Vice Leader Goldjack and tells a subordinate to bring the toll. The pirate praises him for handling things without needing every detail explained. Watching this, someone thinks the exchange seems smooth enough for now. But it feels odd that the pirates still haven't left the deck. The fat man says the money settles one matter, but there is another. He was ordered to search for someone specific on this ship. Now watch this. Here is where the tension hits the breaking point. He turns to the captain and asks if anyone else is hidden aboard. He clearly knows this man sometimes sneaks criminals onto his boat. If he just hands the person over, the other passengers might be spared. The captain loves money, but he wants to stay alive even more. He knows he has no choice, so he finally admits that someone is here. One problem down, but another one is already brewing. He had orders to track someone specific down on this ship. He turns to the bald captain and demands the truth. Is someone else being stashed away on this boat? He knows exactly how this guy smuggles criminals across the water. Just hand the person over, and the other passengers stay safe. No one else needs to get dragged into this mess. The captain loves his coin, sure, but he loves staying alive more, so he finally cracks. The stowaway stays hidden in the storage cabin as the fat pirate captain bellows that they're hunting a fugitive. He barks orders for every passenger to line up and cooperate. The passengers are terrified. They can only stand there shaking in their boots. One pirate spots our protagonist, calmly gazing out at the sea. That cool attitude really ticks him off. He smacks the young man across the head and screams to know if he heard the order. Soon gives our leaded desperate look, begging him not to pull anything. Reckless, but our hero is already glaring at the pirate with burning rage. Then a scream suddenly rips through the cargo hold. Everyone turns. Even the pirate looks totally confused. Footsteps echo. The hidden man steps out. On his own, dressed in elegant black robes, the fat pirate demands to know how he dared strike his men. The long-haired man says hiding from the beggar sect is hard enough. He never expected them to trust common pirates to track him. That enrages the fat man, who draws his sword and vows he'll take the man's head. He launches a lightning-fast strike, but it only slams into a wooden pillar. The protagonist watches and admits the pirate isn't actually weak, though he can't figure out why this guy keeps jumping around like a fool. Below, the people notice the damaged pillar starting to collapse, panicking at the thought of being crushed. Before it hits them, someone slices it clean in half. It's the protagonist getting annoyed that these people have finally shown their true colors after saving everyone. He lands dramatically on the deck, watching the chaotic fight between the fat pirate and the well-dressed stranger. Neither side lands a clean hit. Then he notices something strange through a tear. In the man's sleeve, a crimson snake tattoo. It instantly reminds him of his master's warning about a man in the Miram Orthodox Alliance prison with that exact same mark. That man's name was Huang Duquesne, and he holds the key to where the second mystical creature he desperately needs can be found. Seeing it all line up, he thinks fate is finally on his side. Before he can step in, the young patriarch moves. Someone yells at him to stay out of their business. They had a deal, but our hero shuts him down cold. He orders his apprentice to stand guard and protect everyone. If a single soul gets hurt, it is 2 days of hellish training. The young patriarch hears that and doesn't waste a second. He draws his blade, determined to avoid that training at any cost. He watches the pirate and the well-dressed man collide. Their blows shatter the air, sending shockwaves everywhere. That force is strong enough to crush the innocent passengers nearby. Those waves keep coming, and he knows he cannot block them all. Still, he finds a way, focusing on speed above all else. As his mind clears, he pours everything into his sword. He fights back tears, feeling the sorrows sharpen his blade. That storm of killing force is rushing right toward him. He swings his sword, slow, precise, controlled. A golden aura erupts from his steel to meet the impact. It slams into the leftover waves and bends them aside. With tiny, exact movements, he shields the entire crew. An old man thanks his rescuer, wondering what comes next. He looks around and realizes our protagonist is already gone. Now watch this. The fight is hitting a fever pitch. As the battle rages, Captain Fat Jack unleashes everything. He throws all his power into one massive, final strike. A wide, sweeping strike, but the mustached man dodges it like it's nothing. He spots the opening that Wild Attack left wide open. He moves in with a counter meant to finish this once and for all. But before it lands, something slams down between them. Moving at incredible speed, our protagonist knocks the pirate's arm aside. He sends that heavy sword flying clear across the deck. The sudden entrance leaves everyone frozen in total shock. Then he gathers raw aura into his clenched fist. He lands a brutal punch that completely folds the massive brute. Fat Jack crashes to the deck, taking the floorboards with him. The guy is done for. Well, the well-dressed man demands to know who this is. Our former underdog ignores him, staring right at the man he came to find. He asks if he's Quan Deoxys, catching the guy totally off guard. That reaction tells him everything he guessed right. He says he came to save him because he has questions that need answers. Then he turns his focus toward the remaining pirates on deck. He tells them he's busy with this man so they can leave or die. The two pirates still standing just stare at him, completely confused. Our main character frowns, asking if they didn't understand his warning. But when he turns back, the man he came to save is gone. He rushes to the edge of the ship, scanning the horizon. Just a little more time and they could have reached the Orthodox Alliance. Ship to find him, there he sees the guy, already in the sea swimming off like a dolphin. Watching him flee, our hero cannot believe the man is making this so hard when he is trying to help. Before he can move, Fat Jack orders his men to chase him. One after another, the pirates dive into the water like they are jumping into a pool. Seeing that fat fool still trying to catch, the man, after being told not to the protagonist, calls for his subordinate and orders him to deal with. Fat Jack the pirate on the ground panics, not even sure who he is talking to. Then comes the threat, mess it up, and it is a full week of angry training that makes the young patriarch shout that he would rather die than let the Fatso escape, which leaves his master very pleased. Then the protagonist jumps into the sea. Like everyone else, the second he hits the water, he turns into Shark Boy and tears through the waves after the well-dressed man. Fat Jack wonders why he is going this far for that guy, but before he can think more, the young patriarch closes and he casually says his uncle must be amazing. Maybe he learned water arts while trying to lose weight. The pirate asks who he is, snapping the patriarch out of his thoughts and reminding him he has a job to do. He moves closer, making the pirate ask if they know each other. Cracking his fist, the patriarch answers that the only thing that matters is this pirate deserves to be taken down. Enough talking, he just follows orders and places a hand on the fat man head while the pirate trembles. A desperate scream follows as the hit lands back in the water. We return to the pirates chasing the well-dressed man. The protagonist has already caught up, but one pirate tries to stop him from getting any closer. He attacks and the protagonist dodges with ease. The bandana-wearing pirate suddenly loses sight of him and wonders where he went. By the time he looks up, it is too late. The last thing he sees is the bottom of the protagonist's shoe slamming into his face, using the pirate like a springboard. Our hero says this is actually pretty fun while the man sinks. Then he peers ahead and spots the perfect opening. The pirates are lined up almost perfectly, and just like that, he starts stepping across them, using their heads as a bridge over the water. He thinks if Dharma could cross the Yellow River on a leaf, then surely he can cross the Yangtze on pirate heads. A bit later, Captain Fat Jack realizes they finally understand. This is the main ship of the Black Whale Fort. They might as well be dead. He doesn't get to finish because our lead smashes a punch into his face. The pirate drops hard onto the deck. Our hero tells his son they've hit a bit of a snag. The patriarch says he warned him this would happen, but the protagonist just tells them to enjoy the ride. The two then head straight for the approaching ship. A few hours later, the sun begins to set. The ship is wrecked and pirates are floating all over the sea. A scar-faced man watches the water from a distance. He spots the boat the protagonist was on. Over on that side, the fat pirate keeps moving forward, making the scar-faced man wonder what that idiot is doing. Why is he coming this way? Another pirate swims up shouting for the chief. The scar-faced man asks if he has any flares. The other pirate hesitates, saying it could be dangerous if the Black Whale Fort chief learns they took this job alone. Their leader tells him to quit whining and just fire it. The Black Whale Fort's pride has been stepped on. A little scolding from the chief doesn't matter now. The flare is raised. The pirate thinks that once it goes up, that person will come. The one everyone fears, the Water Dragon King. A monster that both orthodox and unorthodox fighters avoid. Elsewhere, an old man sits at a desk writing. Suddenly, someone rushes in shouting that a red flare went off. It was fired near the Yangtze River. The old man jumps up. We learn he's Jagal Shambam, the great strategist. He leads the Miram Orthodox Alliance. The report says the flare went up about 2 hours ago. Many pirates are now demanding the river gates be opened. He knows only pirates use red flares. He wonders who could have forced them into doing it. So he turns to his subordinate to get the truth. You need to see who is behind this. It's about to get real. If they know why that signal flare went up, but the messenger comes back completely empty-handed, driving the commander. Absolutely furious, 2 whole hours have slipped away and they still have no clue who pulled this off. If someone is strong enough to step up and crush the pirates like that, they need to be on our side. He orders the Celestial Alliance squadron to move out immediately and head straight for the Western Canal entrance to deal with the protest. I can't let the pirates take the R1 Canal, the route leading straight to the Murmur Orthodox Alliance, when he demands to know exactly where that flare was launched. He learns it was right near Anhui province, which instantly stuns him because that is right by the Blackwell Fortress. He immediately demands to know the current location of the Water Dragon King and gets told the latest reports put him somewhere over near Jagal Prefecture, and since that zone sits right next to where the flare lit up the sky, he has almost certainly spotted it already. Hearing that, the elder quickly asks about the highest ranking member, the little beggar dragon who came down for the entrance test but is currently off elsewhere. Deep in the dead of night, someone grumbles about being disturbed. At this hour, he already knows all about the red flare lighting up the sky, but still demands to know why anyone woke him up. For that, because this guy right here is the little beggar dragon of the beggar sect, and he immediately tries to shake awake his sleeping buddy, who just grunts and angrily swats his hand away, making him complain that this hairy idiot reeks entirely of cheap booze and needs to quit drinking. So much completely annoyed that his friend still refuses to get up, he yells right in his ear, and the pretty boy finally opens his eyes, cursing a blue streak and demanding to know why he got dragged out of a deep sleep in the middle of the night. The beggar dragon explains that his elder uncle has summoned him somewhere and the hairy guy has to head off elsewhere tomorrow. Even hearing that, the drunk just asks what any of that has to do with him, which completely irritates the beggar dragon since they are about to be apart for a while, but the other guy simply tells him to get lost. Still dizzy from alcohol, he drops his head right back down and starts snoring away, leaving the beggar dragon thinking he has got the worst taste in friends imaginable. Still, there is no time to waste on that, so he reaches down and unties the heavy rope around his waist. He hands the rope to the messenger with a quick order: find the beggars by the well and tell them to sweep the northern waters. He needs them searching now. Once the messenger takes off, the hairy man stays down just for a moment. Then he grunts. He's feeling well enough up on his feet again. The Water Dragon King is probably tangled up in this whole mess, and he actually cares. He can't have that beggar knight getting hurt out there. Meanwhile, on the river, a man in white rests on a small boat. He's being carried along, drifting with the current. We cut back to the fight. The protagonist has moved on, but the crew stays huddled together on the cargo ship. They look nervous, and for good reason. Meanwhile, the young patriarch is finishing off the last few pirates still daring to attack him. He drops another one. He looks ahead, wondering what his uncle is up to. His uncle is still pounding a pirate's face into the deck, delivering heavy blows that knock the guy flat. Just then, a sound makes him stop. The situation has spiraled out of control. It doesn't matter how many he beats down, more pirates just keep coming. He yells at Fat Jack to move. There's no time to stay here. The pirate under him agrees immediately. He asks the whale if there's an anchor spot nearby. He gets a reluctant nod. But then something flashes over the protagonist's boat. He senses the shift in the air and looks up. A figure is plummeting straight down from the sky. The protagonist watches, thinking, what the hell is that? The man crashes onto the deck like a falling meteor. He stands up and shouts for everyone to hear. The Yangtze River route is now under their protection. He calls himself the little beggar dragon of the beggar sect, warning the New Rim Alliance to back off or else. Watch this guy go. He's actually lecturing them all. The protagonist stares, wondering who on earth this is. Then a memory hits him, flashes of his past and his master. He realizes the man standing there is that same person, just younger. Suddenly, a loud order rings out. Stop all boats. The protagonist blinks in surprise. Did that drunk guy actually pull this off? A man shouts for all Yangtze disciples to salute the chief commander. A massive, thundering cry of respect rises up from every boat. It's wild. The whole river is echoing with it. Finally, the protagonist understands exactly who they mean. He looks over, his eyes wide, catching the full picture. A white-haired man drifts closer, moving slow. Borne on a small boat by a burly servant, cutting right toward them, leaving our main character stunned and little beggar dragon frozen right beside him. That man right there is the Water Dragon King. The main character instantly realizes how razor-thin this distance is. He barks at Fat Jack to turn the helm around right now, because this is a heavy hitter from the unorthodox sect, absolute top tier. One wrong twitch and they are crashing straight into him. The whole crew strains, hauling hard to swing the ship away. Even so, the gap is so tight it looks impossible to clear. The main character watches the collision rushing right at them, ready for the brutal impact any second now. But the man doesn't even flinch, just calmly lifting a single hand. With one casual touch, raw energy blasts out, shoving their boat offline, instantly forcing their vessel onto a totally different path. As the heavy figures land on their deck, the truth sets in. That boat didn't bounce off. It was stopped by pure, overwhelming force. He stands there wondering just how terrifying this guy's true power is. The Water Dragon King introduces himself and his brute of a servant, sweeping the terrified group with a freezing, dead-eyed stare. Little beggar dragon drops into a deep bow before the river ruler, and the young patriarch follows right behind, paying quick respects. But the giant standing next to the king twitches. Alarm bells ring in the main character's head instantly. In a blurred flash of motion, the huge servant grabs someone by the throat, jerking a struggling body straight up into the air. Yet that chokehold isn't what catches the king's attention. What shocks him is that a kid not even 20 years old tracked that movement, even with full energy enhancement blazing. Only then does the dust clear to reveal who's choking and gasping for breath. Stepping up before things turn lethal, the main character speaks, demanding to know why a heavyweight like him is bullying kids, warning that crushing them here will only drag his grand name through the mud. The elder pauses, catching the warning loud and clear, admitting he can't afford a stain on his reputation just yet. He waves his hand, calling his men back off, and the burly servant drops the beggar onto the wood like a broken doll. Then the elder lets his terrifying aura roll out thick over the deck, demanding to hear the main character's excuse right this second. Sweat drips as cold frustration grips him inside. If they just had a little more breathing room, they would have made the Orthodox alliance. He never imagined a complete monster would block their path today. He can't believe a monster like this showed up right now. Trying to survive, he jumps to conclusions, desperate to get out of this alive. He claims revealing his identity wasn't meant as a threat. He ticks the guy off. He's meeting Hades ahead of schedule. He plays it cool, claims he was just traveling by ship. Says pirates attacked out of nowhere, threatening all the commoners. The elder presses him, asking if he played hero like a knight. But his aura is still spiking absolutely thick with pure killing intent. Our guy can tell the old man isn't buying a word of it. He's gotta think fast, or he's dead where he stands. Then it clicks. He drops his clan name like a trump card. He claims the elder wouldn't know it since they aren't from Miram. Instead, they hold Major Poldeep inside the government. His father served as an imperial advisor, he says. Still in Nanjing right now, looking after the emperor's own grandsons. His master taught him this in a war of words: flex your status. And if you don't have any, just lie without a second's hesitation. But this elder, he couldn't care less where the kid is from or who his father is. He doesn't give a damn about titles. Just like that, Arlette realizes his master's tricks aren't always gold. The Water Dragon King growls he was born a pirate. He dies one. He doesn't care if Miram or the government tries to take him down. The protagonist is on edge now, sweat starting to form. He has to protect Mengong Song, his master, and that tied-up dandy. But what can he actually do against two monsters like this? He couldn't even leave a scratch on them, and that's not counting the bodyguard. Suddenly, he remembers another lesson from his teacher. Negotiations hinge on two simple rules. The man told him, you either use what your enemy fears to rattle them, or you use what they love to win them over completely. He tells the man to listen closely, pleading to avoid any snap judgments. Trying to stay alive, he backtracks, revealing his identity wasn't a threat. What he really wants is mercy, a clean slate for those sunken ships. To make that happen, he offers cold hard compensation. Figure a pirate would never say no to a massive payout. The elder actually perks up, asking if he's talking about money. Our guy presses the advantage, daring to ask how much he wants. But that only makes the man grin, then burst into a roar. What he really wants is mercy, and for the elder to overlook everything. He wants him to ignore the dozens of ships he sank to get here. He offers compensation, figuring a pirate won't turn down cold hard cash. The elder grows interested, asking if he's seriously offering money. The protagonist presses on, demanding to know exactly how much he wants. That only makes the man grin, then burst into a wild, mocking laugh. Little beggar dragon, he shouts as the protagonist dashes forward. He yells that the old man has finally lost his mind. But before he can stop it, the attack is already coming. Then he realizes the strike wasn't for him, it was aimed at little beggar dragon. Laughter echoes out. The protagonist figures the old man has completely lost his mind, acting like he just hit the jackpot. Right before his eyes, the crazy elder steps closer and casually drops that he actually likes him. That confession makes the hero spring back in pure shock, scrambling for space. The old man tells him to look up at the moon and at the crowd watching from above. All those sword-carrying watchers belong to the Orthodox Miram Alliance. He asks the protagonist if he knows why none of those righteous fighters are making a move. The hero stays confused, thinking the answer is obvious as day. The old man lays it out. Whether they preach justice or chivalry, in the end, they just weigh what profits them. So if even the Orthodox sects act like greedy cowards, why is the hero willing to spend a fortune to save everyone? He hesitates, knowing there is no way this guy would believe his actual reason is stopping the minion of chaos and saving the world. As the old man studies him, he starts to get a read on his stubborn personality. Though honestly, he still cannot guess just how strong this kid might eventually become. Still, he cannot afford reckless moves against someone who acts like they have nothing left to lose. So he is left with only one choice: test the boy out himself. He calls the young hero over and warns him that some things in this world cannot be settled with money. Instantly, the bodyguard draws his weapon, totally startling little beggar dragon. The protagonist dashes forward shouting that the old man has completely lost it. But before he can stop it, the attack is already descending right toward them. Then he realizes the strike was actually aimed at little beggar dragon, so he throws himself in to block it. The beggar freezes in absolute shock as the protagonist yells for him to run for his life. Little beggar dragon takes the chance, leaping off the ship and leaving the protagonist entirely on his own. But his strength still is not enough, and a heavy, brutal blow slams straight into his chest. He stays on his feet through sheer stubborn will, thinking this fight has to end in one strike. His enemy is a martial master using enhanced energy, and if this drags out, he is dead for sure. So he gathers everything into one desperate attack, channeling the purest spiritual energy he possesses. Spiritual energy is far stronger than the internal energy stored in the core. But the moment the old man sees it flare up, his expression shifts entirely. He throws himself in the way, blocking the killing blow with his own body. The beggar freezes in total shock as the protagonist yells for him to run. Little beggar dragon takes the chance, leaping off the ship to safety. That leaves the protagonist alone, exposed to the elder's next move. He's strong, sure, but his strength still isn't enough for this monster. A heavy, crushing blow slams straight into his chest. He gasps for air, reeling back from the sheer impact. He's pushing his limits, but this fight is turning deadly fast. You can see it in his eyes. He didn't expect this much power. And now, he's left fighting for his life against a true legend. He stays on his feet through sheer willpower, thinking hard. This has to end in one strike. His enemy is strong. A martial master channeling that enhanced, dangerous energy. If the battle drags out, he knows he'll lose for sure. He gathers everything into one final, desperate attack. Using the purest energy, he has spiritual energy. It's far stronger than the internal power in the core. But when that man sees it, he pauses. He just smiles, and our hero has no clue why. Not until that old man strikes him from behind. He slams into the dirt, fighting to keep his eyes open. But it's no use. He blacks out, caught between those two monsters. Before he drifts off, he's lost in the dark. He's fuming. How can a legend of the unorthodox world fight so dirty? He screams that the old man is nothing but a scoundrel. The elder just smiles, and then the world goes black. Our protagonist's vision is fading fast. The young patriarch shouts for his uncle, but the water dragon king warns him, don't do anything reckless. Song feels a crushing weight just from meeting the king's eyes. And yet, his uncle risked everything to keep them safe. He can't just stand here, frozen in pathetic fear. So he raises his blade, knowing he has to reach him. The old man is actually impressed, watching the boy charge in. He notices something swirling around the blade. Enhanced sword energy, it's weak, sure, and totally incomplete. But it's definitely the real thing. The old man wonders where these brats keep coming from. One fought back, and the other broke free of his aura. Still, he can see the boy is in rough shape. His demonic nature seems to have completely clouded his mind. The old man lets out a small laugh. He asks if the boy is a descendant of Ching's son. But the young patriarch ignores him, charging in with everything he's got. Just as he readies a kick, the elder says he can't kill him yet. He wants to see him grow into a man first. The kick isn't even aimed at the kid, it slams into the deck. The force is monstrous, sending massive waves crashing around the ship. Later, deep in a forest, our hero catches the scent of food. He wakes up and spots a bowl of meat. The sea dragon's bodyguard watches him, clearly confused. Song hesitates, but someone tells him to just eat. Young-sen hunted and cooked it himself. He realizes he's in the woods with the water dragon king, his guard, and the pirate. The old man says a growing boy needs plenty of meat and wine. But our hero doesn't care about that. He's only thinking about Sung and his master. Anger starts to boil over. He demands to know what happened to the others. Honestly, you can feel his panic. He needs answers right now. He's not waiting for an invitation. Every second he spends here feels like a betrayal. He's ready to tear the whole place down for the truth. Before he can even make a move, the old man speaks up. He spared them, shipping them straight to the Orthodox Miram Alliance. He drops another detail, that Nam-Gum clan kid only got scraped up. He'll bounce back once he wakes. Even if he isn't close with Chang's son, he refuses to crush a young sprout. Hearing that, our hero feels the tension drain out. His disciple is safe. But right on cue, extreme hunger crashes over him. The old man chuckles, reminding him he was already warned. He grabs a chunk of meat, pausing to check if it's laced with poison. Then he drops the thought entirely. Turns out it tastes amazing. That's when he catches the old man staring straight at him. Watching him gorge with a sly, knowing grin plastered across his face. Like he's scheming something big, the scene shifts abruptly to a quiet medical room where a voice breaks the silence. Just one last pass, tiny acupuncture needles sliding into place. Dozens of microscopic needles are being embedded across a man's body. Finished at last, the practitioner exhales, leaving the young man completely covered in a grid of silver needles. The elder notes that the Water Dragon King acted weirdly merciful today, leaving the little dragon beggar utterly baffled. The old man scoffs, telling him that even as a beggar representative, he's still a total idiot. Without the water dragon stepping in, the kid would have suffered a severe energy deviation and ended up completely crippled. The doctor adds that he didn't just suppress the demonic energy, he actually cleared the boy's blocked meridians. That leaves the beggar completely lost as to why he'd do such a thing, but the old man turns to leave to dispatch a letter, muttering he has to go calm the Sword King's fury now that the news is leaking out. Left alone in the quiet room, the dragon beggar flashes back to the exact moment when the young patriarch fearlessly charged right at the Water Dragon King without a shred of hesitation, just as he raised his foot, violently channeling raw energy straight into the deck. He smashed the floorboards right before the young patriarch could reach him. For a fraction of a second, it looked like his eyes had cleared up to normal. And then, in a freezing voice, the old man ordered every single person to get out. He meant the Miram Alliance members, who could only stand paralyzed as he and his loyal subordinate carefully hoisted the protagonist back onto the ship. The only outsider left behind was the beggar trying desperately to help. The young patriarch, back in the present, he's still left wondering what really went down out there and why Mr. Yu was dragged away. Back in the dense forest, the three pirates find themselves cornered, sitting by the fire with our hero. Everything feels oddly calm. The bodyguard passes him another piece of charred meat. Looking at that gentle face, our hero can hardly believe it. This is the same guy who was a tiger on the battlefield. And it is not just him, the other one is strange too. He looked like a total monster before, but now he just seems like some drunk old man hanging nearby. Our hero wonders how one person can feel so different. The old man hands the boy some wine and asks his age. Our hero takes a sip, then answers that he is 17. That actually shocks the old man. He is this skilled already. Before even turning 20, he presses for a name. Who taught him? That immediately makes our hero suspicious. The old man keeps digging, desperate to know his master. So the protagonist lies. He learned from his brother-in-law. From the Dam clan in Hubei, he claims. The Water Dragon King pauses. That is military region territory. He knows their martial arts well, simple, powerful stuff. Nothing like the protagonist's smooth, exact moves. Or that strange power he used on the subordinate earlier. That did not seem like normal energy at all. In fact, it felt far, far purer than anything else. Our hero is stunned. The guy noticed what the Sword King missed. He asks why the old man cares so much about his technique. The old man shrugs. He is curious. He has never seen that. If the boy only learned from a brother-in-law, he has no true master. That realization clearly pleases him. The protagonist knows he cannot mention the 6 Orthodox saints. Then the Water Dragon King points right at him. He wants him as a disciple, a demand that hits like a shockwave. The old man adds he planned to make him pay for the trouble, but he will forgive it all if the boy just becomes his student. Our hero's thoughts are spinning wildly now. He is supposed to save Miriam, not train under a pirate. The old man acts like it is already decided, but our hero quickly asks for a minute to think. That only seems to annoy the Water Dragon King more. He demands to know what that hesitation means. The protagonist explains his father is a respected scholar, a former imperial advisor, no less. There is no way he can just become a pirate disciple. The Water Dragon King appears. He asks what that means. Our protagonist explains that his father is a respected scholar, a former imperial advisor, someone who held real power. So he can't just fall, can't just become someone else. The boy rattles off a laundry list of excuses to the pirate. He keeps refusing, while the old man just stands there watching. Total silence. Then the old pirate asks if a sound thrashing might help. Maybe a beating will make him more obedient. That terrifying. Or a crash down on our hero, pinning him to the spot in pure fear. The old man doesn't blink, going on about how pirates need natural talent. He's implying the boy was born for this life. Shaken to his core, our hero sees no way out. The old man rolls up his sleeves. He tells the kid he's thinking way too much, and those useless thoughts need to be beaten right out. Soon, grunts and the sound of skin slapping echo through the forest. A few hours later, the fire is just ashen or bruised. Protagonist is kneeling, breathless, as the old man asks if he has decided yet. He's still stubbornly begging for a little more time. But when the beating starts up again, he finally blurts out that he'll become his disciple. In his head, he doesn't really care. If this is what it takes, he'll do it, knowing he can't waste a second, so he demands it be temporary, because he has to find Huangdo Oxium and finally reach the Orthodox Miriam Alliance. He desperately needs information about the second creature, and that legendary Huangdo Axiom is the only key to pull that off. He has to get to the Alliance as fast as his feet can carry him. Even with one eye swollen shut, he steels himself and pushes through the pain. He tells his new master that no one can know he became his disciple. If that news gets out, he'll be like a frog, stuck at the bottom of a well, staring only at the Yangtze River. He says he wants to learn, wants to widen that river into great seas, then the whole world, an answer that actually impresses the old man. Still, he warns that if the boy is lying to him, he'll erase him and everything he ever touched. Then he calls his subordinate, ordering him to tell the pirates that Yu Hyun is the new young master of the river, but to keep it a secret. With a hard stare, he warns that if word of this leaks, they will be punished without mercy. Later, our protagonist leaves in a small boat, waving goodbye to those pirates. With relieved laughter, even while he's crying, he tells himself this total humiliation was all part of his own careful plan. And now those river pirates are basically his pawns. Once he secures the elixir and the mystical creature, he'll slip right out of that old man's grasp. Meanwhile, the Water Dragon King sits quietly on a rock. He takes a calm sip, soaking in the quiet for just a second. But the peace breaks. Someone shouts out that the water demon is a bastard. It is Chang-san. Absolutely furious, he storms in, having heard the Water Dragon King left his son injured and unconscious. The old man asks what he is talking about, then finally realizes Chang-san means that young man from the ship, and says he only learned about that later. The old man adds that he also heard the pirate open his son's meridians, which clearly surprises the Water Dragon King. But he quickly gets annoyed, honestly wondering why Chang's son is raging instead of thanking him. Chang's son demands he hand over the protagonist and swears he will turn the river into a sea of blood if even one hair on the boy's head is harmed. That makes the pirate think Chang's son must be the boy's master. The old man agrees they really could have that kind of bond, but this odd reaction only convinces the Water Dragon King that Chang's son is not the protagonist's master at all. Since the boy is now his disciple, he wonders what to do if he cannot give him back those words. Enraged, the patriarch, who starts gathering power and curses the pirate, he charges in at once and swings to cut him, but only slices his clothes. The Water Dragon King explodes, calling him a lousy swordsman. He jumps back onto a piece of wood in the river, saying that strike would have killed him if it landed. Then he shouts, asking if the old man was really trying to kill him. The patriarch snaps back that he did not come here to play and says he will send him home without that ugly head of his. Hearing that insult, the Pirate King gets truly furious and starts gathering his power, challenging him to a one-on-one fight to see who wins. Just as those two beasts are about to clash, the Water Dragon King's servant shows up carrying a boar he hunted himself. He pauses, curious about what he is seeing. The old man suddenly asks what the hell they are doing. He tells them to stop. Hyun already left a while ago and should be at his destination by now. The pirate jumps back onto land and says he is telling the truth. The patriarch knows that even for a pirate, this guy rarely lies, so he lowers his blade. He offers a sincere thanks for saving his son. The old pirate just grumbles, could have said that sooner. The captain then calls over his right-hand man. The subordinate tosses him an old bottle of liquor. He catches it cleanly midair with a grin. He offers the patriarch a drink before he heads out, just trying to smooth things over, man to man. The old man accepts, thinking it is all good now. As long as Hyun is safe, the conflict is over. But Hyun is nowhere near safe. Two blades point at his throat. A whole fleet and a massive crowd have him cornered. He stays cool, saying this all looks like a misunderstanding. They growl back that only the Moram Alliance handles that. Hyun doesn't even flinch. He needed to go there anyway. He plays along for now, letting them take the lead. Before long, the massive river gates rumble open. They haul him into the heart of the city by carriage. Hyun leans out the window to catch the view. The city is massive, packed tight, buzzing with energy. It feels like a forest built out of nothing but stone. He cannot hide how impressed he really is by all this. The guard beside him recalls the rumors about this kid. They say he crushed mountain bandits and pirates alone. But looking at him now, he just seems like an innocent boy. Meanwhile, Hyun is already dreaming up a much bigger play. If he stops the chaos ahead, he could be the hero here. He could claim the territory as his own secret asset. Maybe even rise up to lead the entire Orthodox Alliance. Now that he thinks would be the perfect retirement plan. First, though, he has to track down the well-dressed man. They reach the gates of the massive Alliance Palace. They say this is the military advisor's office. But get this, the energy in the room shifts instantly. The door swings open and the escort freezes in shock. He drops to his knees before he even thinks about it. He introduces himself as vice captain of the Celestial Dragons. He is practically shaking, paying respects to the man inside. Standing behind the advisor is a figure cloaked in white. This man greets Hyun first, and Hyun does not even blink. He stays surprisingly calm, completely unfazed by the pressure. The bearded elder turns, eyeing him closely. Is this Hyun? We find out this is none other than Lee Hoxing, the legendary white marshal. Hyun can tell that even now. His voice is gentle, but the sheer weight of it feels suffocating. It's not killing intent, just the presence of someone truly powerful. The kind of power that makes everyone around him freeze in place. Hyun remembers his master's warning. If this man had fought on the front lines, they might have actually stopped the minion of chaos. After the boy introduces himself properly, the old man freezes. He realizes Hyun is only 17. Yet the kid is already absurdly skilled. Those sharp, blazing eyes remind the elder of a dragon. It confirms his suspicion. Hyun must have met the Water Dragon King. Facing these two, Hyun knows exactly who they are. That's his master's master, and the alliance leader himself. Even his own master respects these two. Hyun's basically been tossed right into a tiger's den. He steadies himself. No room for mistakes now. The advisor asks if he was the one who caused that trouble on the Yangtze. Hyun keeps his cool. He explains his father is the imperial advisor. He just couldn't stand by and watch people suffer under those pirates. It sounds believable, like a standard act of justice. But the old man is still suspicious. He keeps pressing about the middle-aged man. When Hyun acts confused, the questioning only intensifies. The advisor clarifies he means the well-dressed guy fighting the pirates. Hyun realizes they're talking about Huan Dixiang. That man was already questioned, but he clearly didn't spill what Hyun was after. Now Hyun just needs the perfect excuse for jumping into that fight. But then, one of them suddenly moves to strike. The sect leader notices the attack is aimed straight at the woman. He reacts at once, stepping into the fray. At the same time, he grabs Hyun out of the way. The other man asks what he thinks he's doing. Like a true philosopher, he says that was his answer. Hyun's body had moved on its own to protect someone. The old man looks pleased by that instinctive reaction. Hyun knows his act is finally working. He asks what happened to the prisoner, but the advisor pushes back. Why care so much about someone he's supposedly unrelated to? Especially after they treated the man so roughly. Hyun suddenly slams his fist on the table. He claims he's angry because innocent lives were almost lost. That conviction in his voice, it's exactly what he needs right now. Because behind this mask of justice, Hyun is playing a much deeper game. He has to make them believe every word. If he cracks here, it's all over for his mission. So he stares them down, fearless and firm. Let's see if they buy this act or if he's walked into a trap. Dragged straight into danger because of that man, of course. It is all one big act, and they are probably about to buy it. The old man claims the guy is in prison right now. Being questioned over what went down, he asks if Hyun wants to see him. Hyun instantly senses a trap. It was offered way too easily. They are probably just trying to learn why he saved that guy by watching how he reacts during the interrogation. Still, with a sly smile inside, he decides to pretend. To take the bait, he really needs to find that millennial sea snail. So he says he would be glad to meet him, especially since that man endangered everyone just to save himself. The elder studies Hyun's answer. He is still not fully convinced. Even so, he says he will notify the head guard first, while wondering how long this boy can keep up the act, as Hyun is about to leave. The man asks why the water dragon king actually let him go. Hyun says the pirate chose to make up for the damage by paying for the sunk ships and the medical bills for the wounded. The old man immediately asks if he thinks they are idiots. By all logic, the pirate should have killed him. Hyun mockingly tells them to ask the pirate themselves. He was released after promising compensation. Simple as that. For a moment, the elder looks annoyed by this brat, but they cannot hold him there any longer. That old fool who dotes on his son would surely cause trouble. So the tense talk ends and Hyun is released. The messenger then turns to the leader and asks how much of Hyun's story they should actually believe. The answer is none of it, but the boy is definitely interesting. Looking out the window, the leader says the child's energy core is completely empty. that makes the other men wonder if Hyun is hiding his power, but the leader says no, he truly has nothing there. He realized it when he stepped. Hyun's attack that convinced him the boy is using some new kind of cultivation. After all, the Sword King and the Water Dragon King would not care about him for no reason. He then says they should keep Hyun on their side because this child could help with what they are planning. The advisor begins unrolling, holding that red scroll. He explains what he's actually trying to do. He's hunting for the hidden dragons, trying to gather them from every region into one elite squad. But progress, man, it's been painfully slow. And that makes sense. Those hidden dragons, they aren't just anyone. They're the future leaders of their sex, the very heart of each faction's power, getting them to sign on. It's basically impossible. The old man mentioned he saw Sung's body hit a whole new level, thanks to the Water Dragon King. Then he drops a new idea. He suggests introducing you into the world, a young martial artist, someone who fought the Black Wheel Fortress solo and actually came back alive. He's from a respected clan, he's talented, and let's be honest, he's handsome. Basically the perfect young prodigy to build a reputation around. They could even spread a rumor that Namdoom, who traveled with him, has reached a high level too. But the old man shrugs, saying, it's only a suggestion. The rest is up to the advisor. Once he's finished with the elders, Hwang Yun heads somewhere else. He stops, looking at someone in the distance, and clicks his tongue. He calls it pathetic. It's young Sung, wrapped up like a mummy, crying for his uncle. Then the little beggar shows up, asking if Hwang Yun is actually joining the Hidden Dragon team. Hwang Yun notices Mr. Yu is there too, seeing the respect the man shows him now. He knows this is the perfect chance. He could finally make him his servant. The problem is, he can't just go around beating him up anymore. Same goes for the rest of his masters. Then he hears the beggar mention a list, saying Sedek and Miria are on it too. Hyun instantly snatches the paper while the boy protests, shouting that he shouldn't be reading it. The Hidden Dragon team is supposed to stay secret, but Hyun doesn't care. He checks the list. Now watch this. He sees all his masters are on it. There's Chansu of the Tang clan, who trains by letting snakes bite him. Wayne Hell of Wudang, who can balance a full jar on the tip of his sword without spilling a single drop. Wayne Gang of Shaolin meditates under a frozen waterfall. And Jagalmori, the celestial strategist, who's busy talking about how the sky looks frighteningly beautiful today. Seeing all those names, Hwang starts wanting to gather every one of his masters and lead them himself. He can't help it. He's genuinely getting excited just thinking about what happens next. A drop of sweat, Wayne Gang of Shaolin meditates under a waterfall, and Jagalmori, the celestial strategist, says the sky looks frighteningly beautiful today. Seeing all those heavy hitters, Hwang starts wanting to gather every one of his masters and lead them himself. He admits he cannot help getting excited about seeing them, leaving the beggar watching, feeling a sudden, deep chill. Soon it's clear Hwang plans to join the Hidden Dragon group. He's set his sights on that path, no turning back now. Hope you enjoyed the journey so far. Hit that like button, subscribe for more, and we'll catch you in the next one.